financial institution. But we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 370 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
You just drag them down. You'll always be alone.
You're a disappointment. They were never your friends.
Why do you even try?
Why would anyone be friends with you?
You can't take the pressure. It's like everyone will always be alone.
Breathe in the wild. With the strength of the bear. The drive of the ram. The will of the boar. And the cold fury of the phoenix. A storm rages through me. Unshakable. Breathe out the spirits and fight.
problems here. CFO are putting themselves in a really weird spot. The Necton coming
Into
in
the
though.
back line, they bring in the Nocturne. Gemini locked up by carries for just a second as he gets out of there, and I don't think anybody from CFO was ready for this one. Mission tries to drop his full combo, and they do get a lot of damage. Holo trying to get out of there. Rest manages to slice and dice him down. It's Gemini and Koala just hanging out for dear life, but they are going to fall here. M&M just keeping them zoned, and they get themselves the full wipe in exchange for just 2. That will be...
Fine in most of these fights. It's about how Enzo can block out the explosive cast and can Lee Kai find those angles.
Will be the case here as they go in for the fight, slice the dice. Colvin Mig and Lee Kai gets bursted but not down to 0. Here comes Minji around the side. The second wind after that Crescent Strike does split everybody, and this is going to be enough for Beyond Gaming to win this one. Blinking health bars on all sides. I don't think it's going the way. They do manage to secure the Herald, but the shutdown onto Uniboy means big goal to the pockets of Beyond Gaming, and they just closed the trap on a Konge and Lilvi. Enzo as well, left out in the cold, stunned, and pulled in for 4 kills and a triple for 1. Cyclone, that'll be the killer combo. Wako gets caught into the big combo. They get the shutdown, and here goes that hostile takeover. Husha gets clapped on by it as they just look for the finisher, but Minji takes Konge out of this one. It's still anybody's fight as it turns back and forth. Lilvi too low, shut down by Minji. The second wind effort from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming's coming up huge as Uniboy forced to flash, trying to deny Lee Kai, but no, he will not be, as 3 kills coming from Minji.
Going for a big engagement.
That's the setup. Oh, they might be able to do it here as Holo goes in. That's a really nice start. As Vision is taken out of this one by M&M. The rest is just buying a whole lot of time. The Death Realm zoning just about everybody away. Wise came from the ball. Gemini gets that reset, turns into Camille himself, turns onto M&M, and wowzers, it's Shun to the rescue. Huge execution, even with the perfect setup. Frank Esports just have absolutely nothing, and the Shelly charge comes in again. Pretender trying his best misdirect right now, but Gemini has eyes on top of him. He might just get away, but...
Yeah, the situation resets that Alex is actually going to stick around. Teleport coming through. This is it.
Okay, this is it. I mean, Frank Esports go to the next round or impunity for a game 5. Wirecam's here in line to send out the ulti, but uses for the great ulti. Flushes himself jackpot here too, but no one's on M&M. And that's a free of Velios. Fighty runs into certain death though and gets out alive. It's a double kill.
They have no one else left.
KM. I don't know. Nice
2v4.
They're dead. They're actually just dead. Pretender flashes. Okay, well, Jackpot runs in. He's dead next.
Okay.
Now M&M on the Elder. You know, it goes to the Rumble. M&M still flashing against an Elder team. He's going to do a Velios thing. Everybody dead. A quadra kill.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 370 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
You just drag them down. You'll always be alone.
You're a disappointment. They were never your friends.
Why do you even try?
Why would anyone want to be friends with you?
You can't take the pressure. It's like every night. You'll always be alone.
Breathe in the wild. With the strength of the bear. The drive of the ram. The will of the boar. And the cold fury of the phoenix. storm rages through me. Unshakable! Breathe out the spirits and fight.
Renekton 1v1 without any problems here. CFO are putting themselves in a really weird spot. Renekton coming
Into
in
the
though.
back line, they bring in the Nocturne. Gemini locked up by carries for just a second as he gets out of there, and I don't think anybody from CFO was ready for this one. Mission tries to drop his full combo, and they do get a lot of damage. Holo trying to get out of there. Rest manages to slice and dice him down. It's Gemini and Koala just hanging on for dear life, but they are going to fall here. M&M just keeping him zoned, and they get themselves the full wipe in exchange for just 2. That will be...
Should be fine in most of these fights. It's about how Enzo can block out the explosive cast and can Lee Kai find those angles.
With case here as they go in for the fight, slice the dice, Mig, and Lakai gets bursted but not down to 0. Here comes Minji around the side. The second wind after that crescent strike does split everybody, and this is going to be enough for Beyond Gaming to win this one. Blinking health bars on all sides. I don't think it's going the way. They do manage to secure the Herald, but the shutdown onto Uniboy means big goal to the pockets of Beyond Gaming, and they just closed the trap on a Konge and Lilvi. Enzo as well, left out in the cold, stunned, and pulled in for 4 kills and a triple for one. Cyclone, that'll be the killer combo. Wako gets caught into the big combo. They get the shutdown, and here goes that hostile takeover. Husha gets clapped on by it as they just look for the finisher, but Minji takes Konge out of this one. It's still anybody's fight as it turns back and forth. Lilvi too low, shut down by Minji. The second wind effort from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming's coming up huge as Uniboy forced to flash, trying to deny Lee Kai, but no, he will not be, as 3 kills coming from Minji.
Frank going for a big engagement.
That's a setup. Oh, they might be able to do it here as Holo goes in. That's a really nice start. His vision is taken out of this one by M&M. The rest is just buying a whole lot of time. The Death Realm zoning just about everybody away. Wise came from the ball. Gemini gets that reset, turns into the deal himself, turns onto M&M, and wowzers, it's done to the rescue. Huge execution, even with the perfect setup. Frank Esports just have absolutely nothing, and the Shelly charge comes in again. Pretender trying his best misdirect right now, but Gemini has eyes on top of him. He might just get away, but...
Yeah, the situation resets at night. Alex is actually going to stick around. Teleport coming through. This is it.
Okay, this is it. I mean, Frank Esports go to the next round or impunity for a game 5. Wirecam's here in line to send out the ulti, but use it with the great ulti. Flashes himself jackpot here too, but no one's on M&M. And that's a free Aphelios fighty. Runs into certain death though and gets out alive. It's a double kill.
They have no one else left.
KM. I don't know. Nice
2v4.
They're dead. They're actually just dead. Pretender flashes. Okay, well, Jackpot runs in. He's dead next. Now M&M on the Elder. You know, it goes to the Rumble. M&M still flashing against an Elder team. He's going to do a Aphelios things. Everybody dead. A quadra kill.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 370 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
You just drag them down. You'll always be alone.
You're a disappointment. They were never your friends.
Why do you even try?
Why would anyone be friends with you?
You can't take the pressure. It's like everyone will always be alone.
To the end of time. To the end of time. To the end of time. Girl, I want you every night. Come on over. Girl, we do this every time. Come on over. turns to gold. I've seen the sign on the skyline. The urge in my soul, gotta let go. I've had enough of the hard times. Got a taste of the sun, now I gotta reach the horizon. The horizon, yeah. Are you coming along? 'Cause I got the current to guide me. Let it guide me. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I start anew. Sky turns to blue, waving goodbye to the moonlight. I'm gonna drive, follow the lines, leading me into a new life. Got a taste of the sun.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PCS Summer Playoffs here. After waiting a few days, of course, we're back. We had to have a little bit of a break after watching Frank and Impunity take a breath of fresh air. Nightstar and I joining us back in. Kind of True there is sponsored by CDBC Bank and China Airlines. Big thanks to Riot Games, Carry Live, and Karina for the operation and full production of the league. Nightstar, it is good to have you back because considering we were the ones here last time going through that lower bracket, I guess we finally progress upwards to see how the top dogs in the league right now are doing.
Yeah, a little bit of continuity, right? Ended the week with us, start the week with us. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what our top seeds will bring to the table today and tomorrow, PSG and DCG. And these are two teams that, when we look at them, say, you know what? This coaching staff with the extra week of preparation,
yeah,
we're very excited to see what they can actually bring out with this extra week of prep.
That's true, because, like, honestly, you've already seen Beyond Gaming, especially for DCG's side. This is a team that is debuting, finishing second in the regular season, and, you know, it's been such a good split for DCG. I feel like we've seen this year has been massive for them, with us bringing up the bracket for you to kind of look at what we're talking about. Again, DCG Beyond Gaming will be coming up today. A little bit hard to track, but just note that PSG and CFO will be tomorrow. And Nightstar today is all about who can make it into that semifinals in this upper bracket as well.
Yeah, winners of both of these upper bracket matches will put themselves locked in for top 3, which means you are just one step away from that world slot. It's top 2 in our league that do go to Worlds. So it's a huge step just to win this game. And if you do so, like, literally Worlds is right around the corner.
True. I mean, look, we're getting so close, right? 4th of September that final is. So, as you said, right around the corner. And a lot of people are kind of expecting the old favorites like PSG. I feel like, you know, Beyond, for people that don't watch PCS throughout the year, they're going to be like, man, yeah, this team's going to be making it through. But that depends on today, right? A much easier run, double elimination makes it so that you do get a second chance. And we're split down the middle with Clement and Pyra deviating off the plan. I'm not sure what's going on, but they must have believed in quite a lot after watching the J-Team victory.
Clement and Pyro were very high on the J-Team train.
Yeah.
So perhaps it's because they still think very highly of J-Team,
Okay.
transitive property, right?
True. That means they must be, one of the best teams in the league. It means beyond or even better than that.
Exactly.
But look, first we have to talk about DCG though, right? Because as we were saying before, it's been a really good year for them. Deep Cross Gaming have been one of the funnest teams to watch because of their drafting strategies, but also because of how they play the early game, like this bloody aggressive team, Nightstar. We talk so much about their skirmishing and how they can get through the intricacies of draft. And I feel like here in the best of 5, that should be honed to an even higher degree.
This is a fun team to watch, not necessarily because they are the most flashy in lane, but because they're very much a team, a team that's better than the sum of their parts, right?
Yeah.
You look at Nesty, he is not a very good laner. Leaky, Krascata, yes, there's some upside to them, but they're still very young. They're still developing. And Krascata, not necessarily the flashiest laner as well. So a lot of this success predicates around how well they work around each other with the skirmishing, with the team fighting capabilities. And of course, the highlight player in this particular roster is Leaky, but we'll touch more on that in a bit.
Yeah, because with Beyond Gaming coming fresh off a win of J-Team, there's a lot of high hopes for the fans out there that want to see them return to Worlds. It'd be such a crazy story after what has been a really weak split. Beyond finished just outside that bubble where we were talking about, all right, here's our top teams, then it's Meta Falcon team, then it's Impunity. Beyond finishing 6 to double check. It is just insane to me when we look at the talent on this roster, and it might not be Doggo, but Wako is still incumbent for one of the better AD carries in the league, mixed in with the new talent that's joined in the roster too.
Yeah, and when we compare rosters, what they brought to the table last year, and then with all the changes, bringing in Lee Kai, and having Liang sort of ride the bench, it's been a bit of growing pains, especially in the spring split, where they didn't find a lot of success. But suddenly, we have the summer split and they are starting to find their stride. And at the most crucial time, right? They were pretty hot coming into the end of the split, finding upset wins in some of our top teams. And now the meta is starting to shift in a direction where all of a sudden they're also adapting and really taking well to the new changes.
Which is good to see, right? Like strength of lane, Beyond Gaming not just being a one-dimensional team. We can talk more about their team statistics, but for now, as you said before, it is going to be about these top laners. Lakai versus Leaky. Leaky, for a lot of the international casters for PCS, putting him as one of the most improved, putting him as one of the best top laners in the split. That Mordekaiser Nightstar is 4-0 at the moment, and there's a reason that this guy holds the majority of damage on DCG.
Yeah, Leaky is the really big carry for this squad. Krascata does play some role into it as well, but Leaky is that highlight player. And for on the flip side, for BYG, Lee Kai is not really the highlight player for this squad. Yes, he's got a diversity of picks, and lately he's added the Fiora to his repertoire, which I think is going to be a key thing to keep track of in this pick and ban. But as you can see from the stats, he doesn't get a ton of gold in his hands, and he isn't that lane dominant. He doesn't get a lot of jungle attention, and that's why gold difference by the time plates fall off is he's just trying to go even.
Yep. So it feels like then we should start talking about like the reason why he's in that head-to-head as we go on to pick ban is because he'll have to survive Leaky. It feels like that's how DCG could take over one part of the map. But if BYG can stem that off, then for Lakai, that team fighting we know him for, the Na, the Gwen, the Sejuani, all things we saw. But you also mentioned so far in playoffs, the Fiora's come out too. So there's a lot of versatility for Lakai as we start the pick ban, actually with a Renekton ban on red side, making sure that Leaky isn't able to start off game one with something that can power through the lane that we talked about.
Yeah, the Renekton, very powerful pick. And if you're not allocating resources up top lane, Renekton is definitely one of those champions that can just steamroll you during the early game and really take control of the game from there. So So I like the ban, and BYG also go ahead and ban away the Poppy, which is probably the strongest jungler still on this patch.
Yeah, it really is. Aligned with that, though, the Poppy down, Vi's there. Something in the LPL we have seen from teams like RNG, EDG is first pick worthy. And on the other side, with no Wukong as well, Nightstar, jungle is a little bit more limited, but the bottom lane isn't when we consider that PCS still loves this Kalista in 12-14.
Yeah, and our teams haven't quite adjusted over to picking up the Draven as well, which would be one of those picks that is able to really dominate the lane. And also remember, this is 12-14, so Kalista hasn't been nerfed yet, which is what we do see on 12-15.
Yep.
Which is why she is still going to be very, very present in our drafts. BYG will also look to get themselves a Sylas. So when it comes to this mid-pool, Nesty, Minji, they really like the Sylas and they really like the Talia 2 picks. I expect to see exchange to a certain degree early on, and maybe we see adjustments later in the series. But
you wanted to see this, though. You wanted to see it. And, you know, you were being like, oh, probably from like Wako and Kino, right? We talk about lane dominance. Chris Carter and Woody, as you said in rehearsal, play the role of like team fighting, the back up, the late game carry in the AD. This time, focus on the 2v2 here, Nightstar. It is something that does well into the Kalista, but I like this adaptation. The Ashe support is something that does well into Renata.
Yeah, and it also gives them double range to sort of mitigate the situation against the double range bot lane of DCG. The big question will be what do they add in the jungle pool to try and help alleviate the pressure, because right now DCG level 6 with the Vi, that is just free cash in right then and there. It is almost impossible to escape, especially as the Kalista point and click CC right onto you and chain it straight into the follow-up CC from DCG is surely a cash-in for the Draven. So BYG, they need to come up with something nice here for a jungler to try and help mitigate that bot lane pressure.
They've already taken away some of the flex, so we have been seeing more Sejuani internationally play between jungle top. With that one taken down, Jarvan's still there. We got Trundle, of course, which is a big deal that Beyond Gaming have been denied too. You were talking about global mid laners here. It's a double ban actually out from BYG's side. Well, now they have to think about, do they want top counter pick or do they want the jungle as a last resort? Hovering over what's left. What can Husha do when his Wukong's not there? I mean, it's so limited, Nightstar.
Yeah, the Xin is going to be the next one up for Husha. He does like this champion. He played a lot last year and was quite successful on this champ. And it's just one of those champs that team fights really, really well. And BYG love their team fight sort of junglers. They haven't gone as much over towards the Vi because while she offers a lot of dual potential and pick potential, can suffer a little bit once we do get to that 5v5 stage, but also a champion that really thrives in that is, of course, the Swing, which is going to be a lock-in for Nestiel. So, as things stand, maybe we even see the blind pick Mordekaiser.
Yeah, maybe, right? We talked about it being 4-0 so far in the split. Leaky has the opportunity, but maybe going to play it safe. And so far, I mean, DCG love this draft, Nightstar. BYG have to go close quarters. It's not like a draft that's going to really hard outrange. DCG are going to love it when you come into them with a Swain, a Renata, a Vi as well. I know on the other side for BYG, I guess, trying to compile their CC. Lakai has got the counter pick here, and maybe that adds a bit more element of effect in the top side. He takes the Aatrox last.
And both of these compositions are fairly low range. So this should be very, very explosive team fights. So the early game will be incredibly pivotal in order to just carve out leads and advantages to make sure they can maintain those when it comes to the team fights.
Yeah.
And Lee Kai getting counterpick in this situation, going towards the Aatrox, has an okay matchup up top lane, right? It's most likely into a tank. We'll see what the build path goes. Definitely could go for the Night Harvester build from the side of Leaky, and maybe that adds a little bit more burst potential to the composition.
Yeah.
I really love how both these drafts end up shaping up because of how team fight heavy this will be, and with both of these teams' identities mostly focused around that, sets up for a great game one.
It does, right? DCG's debut as well. So we've been waiting for a while to see if this team could continue on with what they started in the split. Second place finish, played the tiebreaker against J-Team and secured themselves a top 2 for summer. Again, they're in this position because of it with a second round start. And all they need is one best of 5 to run into semifinals. 2 best of 5s to lock in Worlds as well, Nightstar. It's a simple format. You make your way all the way through to the finals, and we're looking at our representatives. DCG versus Beyond Gaming. Beyond, who just beat J-Team as well. If you're tuning into the PCS for the first time, BYG finished 6th. They had a rough split and was so inconsistent, but that performance against J-Team cleaned up the macro. Feels like a brand new team in the BO5s. As we come up against DCG, it might not be as cut and dry as we once expected. So welcome back to the PCS with the beginning of round 2. The beginning of DCG's journey, if they can make it past BYG. And we're talking a little bit before Nightstar, the composition short range here as well. Bottom lane feels very impactful in this game because, you know, we talked a lot about Draven before coming into show today, talking about it as a response to things like Zeri, into Kalista as well. Chris Carter's going to have a lot of attention.
And this is a setup that DCG haven't necessarily played during the regular split, and that's
True.
really focus all their resources down into the bottom lane. A lot of times it's about Hana establishing a little bit of pressure and then allowing that bot lane duo to sort of coast into that mid game where Cruscata's team fight capabilities start to really shine, and that is for the most part the focus from DCG. But here they do need to make things happen a little bit earlier and get that first cash in for Cruscata.
It's going to be a big deal. As talking a little bit about the Ashe support as well. Halo Blade's going to be taken here. In competitive play so far, it's really only been Halo Blades. As the 3-hit trade is so frustrating to verse. But so is versing a Draven. So bottom lane eyes there for the time being. And as you said, strange for DCG considering that Leaky is on a very supportive tank up on the top side. We talk so much about his laning stats coming into this Nightstar. But this is going to be a game which goes completely against the grain as he's going up against Lakai, who got the counter pick in the Aatrox.
Yeah, and Lekai on this counter pick will also need to try and carve out some leads here. Perhaps they throw out or they bring Husha up top lane early. Husha, definitely one of those junglers who has paid attention to his solo lanes more often than not. They tend to leave this bot lane more so to their own devices, and it's about resetting wave states whenever he does visit these solo lanes to get them good back timings and constantly refresh their sustained resources. As Husha's going in for a pretty late invade. He already knows the red buff was going down.
Just wants to take away the Raptor camp. Smite's still there for Hana. Just depends if he can get anything, and a little bit late. Takes the small Raptors at the very least, and Hana's bullied out. But topside camp to go to while Husha tries to control the terrain in the bottom lane. But Hana's not giving up yet, Nightstar.
And I still like this setup here coming in from BYG.
Oh,
but
great.
Husha.
Oh, handshake's great as well. There's the Vault Breaker. So smart from Hana. First blood over to the Vi, and Waka have to flash away from the Sovereign's domination. DCG, what a beautiful entrance to the series.
And BYG, I like the setup there, right? We shoo out the Vi, and then we set ourselves up bot lane to make sure they can't continue to push their advantages. But DCG, they read it, and now they want more.
And look, with the handshake there, the cleanse won't matter. Early cash in, no, denied still. Chris Carter, though, still being able to pick up the goal. There's the Vault Breaker yet again onto Kino. DCG start with a 2-0 lead here. A big deal taking the AD out of the bottom lane.
That is massive wins coming in for DCG, up 2-0. They've got big advantages for this Draven now. He gets to reset for free, refill his stock of sustain. And on the flip side, Wako Kino put on a double range matchup. This is one of those matchups that is extremely volatile, right? Once you fall behind, the ganks any visit from anyone, and DCG do like to send multiple members. It's going to be a tough sledding here for Kino on this range support of that.
And it's kind of crazy as we look towards mid. Might have to hold the thought for the time being because Nessie is trying to bring Hana in, but the wave pushing up against the turret's going to take some time. And, you know, quickly talking about the bottom lane, that start, though, all down to Hana. I feel like we didn't get to talk about Hana because, you know, jungle of the split was looked at like, you know, Hoosh is a top tier. Who did you vote for, Knight? So I'm blanking a little bit here.
I had
Gemini.
Gemini,
Yep.
and of course, Cormier.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Yeah.
look, I'll be honest, you know, I feel like Hana deserves a bit of respect. I saw another blocker chain where international casters were throwing Hana's name into the mix. Had a really strong split start, and, you know, with that first blood, has been able to pick up a bit of grievous wounds early on. So feels like that pathing does everything for the bottom lane that you were talking about. As they push the wave in, they might not have a big CS lead, but it's still so much pressure down here that Husha might have to hover a bit more than he was intending.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to Hana, the big thing is he's not very flashy, especially compared to the other three aforementioned junglers, right?
True.
Gemini is extremely good mechanically. Husha is extremely explosive in team fights. And then Konya is just such a big name. And the amount of early game impact he has is also not to be slouched upon as well. So because of the flashier aspects of the aforementioned junglers, it does feel like Hana does get left out.
Well, we're going to see him in another play, though, Nightstar. 3v3 in the bottom lane. They know Kino's in the brush. Relying on the Halo Blades here. The volley doesn't work out. They started off. They poked forward. The Vault Breaker held onto Kino walking into brush. But it's going to time out. Husha's still waiting around. They're still sus about this, but I mean, Hana just walks down to the edge. We're just waiting this. Kino's going to walk in right about now. Hello. All right, Husha now spotted out, though, and the Vault Breaker's going to stop the play, but they've got good chase up. Wind becomes lightning for a bit of poke, so the 3v3 just ends in a trifle.
Good chunk of damage. And DCG still looking to get a little bit feisty here. It is a pretty sizable wave, so they are taking a non-irrelevant amount of damage coming in from those ranged minions, but BYG with the extra priority down in that bot lane shift their attention over to this dragon, and we've had much later dragons in playoffs because of the dragon changes, a lot tankier, but BYG looking to...
Yeah, let's pause. Okay, Vault Breaker forces the flash. Can they, though? Hana flashes out, and yeah, that's going to be an easy smite. BYG turn for the play, but BCG far out. There's the heal. The flash becomes lightning. The handshake. Woody so far stepping up clutch, and BYG are out of range.
Yeah, and love the disengage coming in from DCG as Minji finds the timing window, and they might try and force the issue even further, having the man advantage and also health bar advantages.
There is a Demonic Ascension now available on Minji, though Nesty has his own, and a heal available to Chris Carter is sitting against the turret with low mana as Woody with a handshake yet again. Demonic Ascension for Ascension, but under turret. That'll be the problem. Minji gets slowed on down, but they're blown up in a matter of seconds. A double over to Husha, and BYG with a gutsy play that works out in the end.
And these are the bold sort of team fights that we expect to see out of BYG. They have the extra man advantage coming in from Minji. They bring him down, and this is a massive, massive win because not only do they get all 3 kills, one of those kills is onto Cascada, which on the Draven can be so deadly here and just making sure he doesn't ever get to play the game.
Yeah, denied adoration and forced to flash away as well. Nesty with a solid attempt, as at least it helps trade off in the end, but Wako got a kill there. And what we didn't talk about before the dive in the bottom lane is that there's a 20 CS lead on Wako.
Yeah.
Through the lane, you know, we saw Chris Carter getting very low after the 2 kills that came bot. But what we didn't talk about was the fact that Wako came back to lane, was able to shove out and deny Chris Carter from picking up a couple of waves. So forget the earlier plays. Doesn't matter too much as BYG actually ahead in gold, and it's got to be to do with Wako maintaining a huge CS gap.
Yeah, and it came from the fact that, okay, Minji looking for a short trade. It came from the fact that when they started out, the Dragon, Cascada actually had to give up a bit to make that roam over, and that play doesn't go very well because they lose the Dragon, then they reset, or they try to get back to the towers to farm the wave, and then they die. So they just lost so much extra gold there, and Again, even though this was a pick that sort of came out of left field in the Draven, how it's played out, again, harkens to DCG. They might not necessarily be comfortable in just force-feeding Cascada all this resources quite yet.
Yeah, we did talk about a different dynamic as they were left in the bottom lane while the Herald play went down, but BYG didn't fully commit. Wako and Kinna moved back bottom lane and denied the plate from being taken as a response, and that's the second objective here in the start of the series that BYG have picked up. So really good early game, really good response to the intelligent gank path from Hana. And now with the two kills Zinzao, excuse me, and a Gore Drinker, all we have to do is wait for this Herald and just see where the blood flies really at this point from BYG, because we did talk about the dynamics of both these teams being fast as Arrow, good dodge there at the end. Yeah, good dodge. And coming back to the point is that, you know, once both these comps start rolling, it feels like games can happen pretty fast.
Yeah, once these fights do start going, the snowball is going to happen pretty darn quickly. And the other thing is, there's not a lot of tower taking capabilities on these teams, right? When it comes to sieging towers, because they're all super low range. Therefore, we're gonna have fight after fight around these big key objectives in order to actually decide the game because of how low range these compositions are.
But just look at the goal that was given over to the bottom lane. BYG taking all 4 plays, at least in conjunction with what Waka already did. And the pressure's still down on the bottom side. DCG are hovering their jungler. But Nightstar, I mean, Hoosh is moving up towards mid. You can see that BYG are following, moving as a bit of a unit here, trying to find a pick that will continue to open up the game.
Hoosh is spotted up by this control ward. And now we'll take it away. And the amount of control here coming in from BYG is pretty nuts so far.
Oh, nice. Oh, Leaky missed, though. Went the wrong direction as Lakai had to burn ulti and flash at the very least. So not going to be the end of the world unless Lakai does that. Leaky forced to flash away while we look back in the bottom lane. The previous series continues on. Hoosha with huge items at this point. Hostile takeover, hitting max range, but it won't do a thing. One auto onto Kino, that's it. Health bar disadvantage. Leaky is just going to get one shot at this point. One Q, one W, and Lakai with the solo kill. Meanwhile, BYG are taking off.
And Hysterics, that was the first time we got to see top lane this entire game. And Lekai comes up clutch, comes out with the solo kill. This is a guy who has suffered endlessly in lane phase this entire year, but now Minji...
Ulti's there. He's got flash still available. And Hana has to burn the ulti, but hey, at least get the mid lane summoner.
Another dragon.
Well, yeah, double dragon, early stacking here. Beyond Gaming, I mean, this is such a clutch comeback. Husha doubling down in the bottom lane. You got to respect it here, because BYG know how to play towards bot anyway.
Yeah, and typically when you have that first play bite you in the back that hard, which was when they pulled Husha down towards that Krugs area and got caught out, usually you just kind of say, all right, we'll play elsewhere. Let's go and look at Lekai, because he does have an advantageous lane, right? So we can play around that, but no. BYG, they decide, hey, we can execute better. We can just do better than what just happened there. And so far, it is paying off, and it does showcase that DCG maybe a little bit of rust with the extra 2 weeks, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they haven't played yet. This is their first debut, and honestly, as you said, it shows. Leaky going to get spotted out in the ward, too. I mean, BYG kind of covering their tracks a bit, too. As Leaky tries to move towards mid, Hana goes in for a steal. It's small wins at the moment. And I will say, Hana does have a CS lead, 14 in the jungle. We look towards mid with a 10 CS lead, but you look everywhere else. The solo kill that just happened for top, the 30 CS lead in the bottom side. And just look at the item differential right now, Nightstar. BYG on 3 mythics. That'll be 4 shortly from Lakai. And when we have another Herald coming up in a minute 30, there's so much power in BYG, as we said, is taking off nice and early.
And this is massive advantages for them right now. You talk about the mythic advantage, but also the fact that they secured the first 2 dragons this early in the game in a meta where dragon takes are supposed to be harder. We're supposed to take a lot more time to get those objectives secured, but they secure the dragons 2 minutes before our playoff measuring stick, which has been 9 minutes. We took that first Dragon at 7, and now we have the second one at 12, and now they want
We're doing it again. We're doing it again, but this time he doesn't have flash, so you can see it with the assault and battery. They cease and desist, and Minji surviving for a long time, but Nesty ends up getting the kill. So gold back here for DCG. But you look at Beyond Gaming trying to hit an avenue in top and mid. We'll have to see if there comes a trade as Chris Carter walks up forward, but I'd be scared. Wako's damage in return is still too much.
Usha, he is trying to shoot Leaky off that tower and will be successful. So yeah, that trade in the mid lane. We do have the Essence Reaver completed by Kriskata. However, we're still looking for that first cash in to happen for him. He is rebuilding those stats at 15 minutes into the game, but he still will be lagging even if he does find the cash in later on. And Wako with the tier 2 boots is extremely powerful with that shield bow. So big advantages for BYG for this upcoming fight, and I feel like for DCG, you probably don't fight this Herald in that case.
But they're feeling like they got a group anyway, man. Pings are coming down, relying on Leaky here as the tankiest member in the game. That's perfect, never move. Hunter flashing forward though, bit of a mistake. Sephiroth gets him, but a beautiful ult from Woody as they're sent around. Minji's ulti doing so much more than the other Swains as they run into close range, but Nesting now even going golden, has to flash to save his life, and even then it won't be enough. Beautiful stuff from Minji, and BYG countering hard.
And they thought they had the pick onto Wako, and it looks like this was a fight that decided DCG could win because of how they were able to zone off Wako. Wasn't able to get many autos in that case, but their solo laners are just so strong. Likai joining in after the engage comes through. Husha already out to a Gore Drinker, extremely oppressive in these team fights, especially comparatively to that Vi. And of course, the highlight is Silas being able to do Swain things, but better.
Really good never move here, but I mean, the problem is Nightstar. You have one damage source, it's Chris Carter, because your Swain is building support.
Yeah, great first item power spike, but it really is more about facilitating more damage coming in for the rest of his team. And you see here, even in this fight, Wako gets 3 autos. So they essentially killed him off at the start of the fight, but that still wasn't enough to swing the tides. As you can see, the damage output is just really, really high from both of these mid laners, but the difference is the Xin just carves up so much space in comparison to the Vi, who also got locked down and I don't believe got the ult off on a priority target.
And with that space as well makes it easier. And Chen across the arrow speaking to the Devil, the explosive cast, doing enough to get him out. But the guys, he flashes out with the ult. He's been caught out and shut down. Chris Carter, the next target, he's bailed out, but needs a reset and won't get it yet again. Nesty is surviving for a long time, but BYG pick apart the pieces. Minji is on a tear, and they've got so many avenues to play. As right now, it feels like DCG can't do anything.
Oh man, this game does feel a little bit out of hand, and when I looked at these two teams, BYG, I had a sneaky dark horse pick when it comes to just how this playoffs would shape out, because when I evaluated my teams, I looked at, hey, the most successful teams are probably going to be the teams that can team fight the best, and my top 3 would be PSG, DCG, and BYG. They sneak in to that category, and you see why. And looking at this current form, they are definitely in a position to make semifinals and once again enter their name into the world's conversation. But for DCG, I do feel like it's a bit of an anomaly because of the fact that they put Kriskata on this Draven. Most likely going into next game, if they do drop this game, they'll probably drop the Draven and go into a more team fight oriented AD carry.
Yeah, it's so crazy because like Chris Carter has been the late game insurance policy. I feel like early game we've talked a lot about Leaky's laning, we've talked a lot about Nesty's roaming and how he can impact the map. And you know, the Swain, we've got an Imperial Mandate, which is pretty standard. I gotta correct myself. You know, Chris Carter's not the only damage source, but because you're going Mandate, because you're not, you know, a Leandri Swain, you feel like the use is going to be limited. And, you know, for DCG Nightstar, Chris Carter hasn't been able to free hit. He hasn't been able to pick the perfect positioning. The picks haven't come through outside of the one on Lakai that was a good start. But every single time we see these fights play out, Minji, Husha, Wako get space. And this Ash, right? Ash has mandate. You press volley, and if volley hits multiple targets, it gets multiple mandates. It's the one thing people forget is that Ash supports press W, and it mandates everything because it's one ability.
Yeah, it's just so damn powerful, and it's also the fact that you get a bunch of move speed too, so it helps Wako out kite these fights. It allows Minji to stick on to people. Now the collapse.
They just spotted out. They thought they were hiding around the wall. Woody's dead, and as Minji goes golden, it could be a turn. It relies on Nesty though as Minji gets out to the back, but he's chased up, and a good cash in from Chris Carter. BYG very deep here as Lakai's about to run out of the World Ender too. A trade for support for mid, and especially a trade onto Chris Carter. That's how DCG get back in this game.
It is that cash in, however, not a ton of stacks for Chris Carter, so I don't think
it's 1K gold.
Okay, yeah. So
shut down onto Minji as well, remember?
Yeah,
so we got 600 plus 400 in the end.
Yeah. The shutdown was a key part there, and that actually propels him into the second net worth in the game. So he's still lagging behind Wako on the Callista, but the big thing here is if Wako does go too far up, Draven does have the damage now to punish missed positions because of that extra gold influx. So that will be key in making sure if they get onto that Callista, they're actually able to burst it up.
He was able to turn the Serrated Dirk into an Essence Reaver plus a pickaxe. So we are getting quite a big power surge, as to your point, from Chris Carter. But we have to see it again because BYG were the ones that made the mistake. They're still 4,000 in the lead. They're still the ones who, in an open space, as you talked about with Husha's ulti and how he's playing the Xin Zhao, they can control the environment. And BYG know that DCG have to come and face check, have to come and meet them at the Dragon in 2.5 minutes.
And the other thing is they don't have a great face-checking champion, right? You could put in the Nest, you can put in the Swain, but for the most part, it's going to be up to Hana, and Hana, he's not really one of... Okay,
oh no,
caught him out.
He's Vault breaking into the wall, he missed the flash! Hana's missed everything, he's trying to turn it around, could be good, explosive card, sets it up, but Minji keeps taking the Swain ulti. With a hostile takeover to start it up, and Nesty carrying with a good pull in. He turns onto Keenan, but the face call saves his life while Minji still isn't dead. Lakai's pulled on in. Nesty is trying his hardest to carry, but Wako stays alive. Ends with the kill, and BYG punishing Hana, who seemed to punish himself in that play.
And Minji goes for the recall, has the teleport to get back into this fight, so he's channeling teleport, and now they're looking to try and pick one more member off. If they do so, that really opens up the Baron chances.
And look, there we go, double Imperial Mandate. Minji just jumps on top. Woody with a bailout, but a chain lash to finish off out of range. Leaking out running for his life while Chris Carter does jump in. He gets a shutdown, but he's traded his life. Explosive cast dunk in the meanwhile. BYG still ahead. We can quote and look at Chris Carter and his success, Nightstar, but BYG keep taking names and it's not stopping.
Chris Carter able to flash forward and secure himself one more kill, but the issue is it's his flash is now down for this crucial Mountain Dragon that's coming up in 50 seconds. We get to see the replay, the catch onto Hana. They block out the Vault Breaker, then they interrupt him. He also flashes into a wall.
He does.
But this Renata ultimate bought a lot of time, sectioned them off quite well, that they almost had the opportunity, but because of Likai's approach here, they're zoned off of helping out their mid laner. Nesty is caught out in no man's land as a result, and the side of BYG are able to secure man advantage. They teleport in, continue to pull off the play, but DCG, importantly, able to stop Baron in that instance, but it doesn't change the fact that they're still 5k gold down. Chris Carter has no summoners. This is an objective they have to contest this area.
As you said, no summoners available. Nesty, the only one with flash, or Woody as well, excuse me. As the Nevermove brings in Lakai back in, but he just turns onto Leaky. And as we also mentioned, for the choke. It's going to be great for BYG. They've got the Enchanted Crystal Arrow available. Baiting in the Dragon here. DCG still there as the Kai with the ulti and the flash available. He's zoning off everyone. Minji over the wall with the Everfrost, still buying time. Hana tries to get over, but there you go. Mountain Soul, one-man hostile takeover. The arrow hits the Gragas, but BYG have already picked up the Soul Zesty. Flashes on in on top of Kino. Minji takes the Demon Flare as well. He's ascended with an explosive cast. They're not taking enough damage. Chris Carter's trying though, as this Draven still punching out a little bit now, but zoned out, hit hard, and Minji's taken over this game. BYG keep it running. It might have started with J-Team, but it looks like it's continuing against DCG.
And BYG absolutely ruffle stomping this game number 1 against the side of DCG. So once we get into the replay, we'll see the composition from DCG, especially when you lose Mountain Soul, just doesn't have the oomph to actually take these team fights. They don't have the single target damage because of how far behind Cascada is, and they don't have the AoE wombo potential either because they are running a Swain in the mid lane. So replay comes through, Lee Kai just occupying so much of the space. They can't get through this choke point, so they take so long to do so. And when they finally do, the Dragon's already taken. Hana goes all the way into the backline to try and just occupy Wako, but that's not the move because the rest of the team is just so damn strong. With Minji and with Lee Kai, the amount of sustain they have, if you're not applying the grievous wounds in that fight, you just can't take these champions down.
This is what I'm talking about, dude. Team fights with Ashe, early Imperial Mandate, 4k damage.
Filthy.
Like, a couple autos weaved into there, but yeah, it is. Because all you have to do is press W, keep space. 18 out of 20 kill participation as well for Kino. And we've been talking up Woody in this game for some pretty good ultis, really good early handshakes as well. But Kino's played this pretty clean. The Ashe counter into Renata yet again showing why it's picked. And now for BYG with the Baron, I feel like we're going to see a lot more arrows come out as they hold a 10k gold lead. A Mountain Soul here, Night Star. I feel like the onslaught is only just beginning.
Especially with the side of DCG hitting a power trough, they don't have an answer to the side lane pressure being offered up by Minji on the flip side. So this is where their composition is going to run into a lot of trouble because they don't have a way to just start a fight. Salt and Battery coming in, the Vi ultimate isn't going to be enough because very well Hana could just die trying to get into the back line while he's traveling with that ultimate.
Just a note on the arrow as well. 37, about 40-second cooldown at this point. Caulfield's Warhammer, and we have the full support item. So Kino, it's already half off of its CD. So expect another one to come through in the next push-up in the top lane. While Minji's holding bot side. Level 16 just reached here by this Silas. And BYG now, Hoosh is escorting midway. So all three are going to be crashing at the same time. One of these inhib turrets are going down.
Yeah, and Hana really wants to go on to Husha, but his team isn't close enough to follow up if they were trying to force a pick there. And now it's just really boils down to Hana, Nest T to try and find an engage. Maybe Leaky able to get a flash Grog Assault to find a pick. But that's it.
Okay, well, his fate's called, saved out there. Inhibitor turret number 1, inhibitor turret number 2. In quick fall like dominoes. Minji now is going to get the inhibitor absolutely for free. Leaky can't stop him. The rest of DCG are trying to pick a target, and they're like, hey, maybe now we go for Husha. But the rest of BYG move towards mid. Wako's arrow was actually fired out before, by the way, so there's another tool that's down, but all three inhibitor turrets and BYG playing the macro so cleanly. Okay, all right, Chris Carter walked in, and Husha runs on in, and it might be it, in fact, as the cease and desist flies from Hana, but he does no damage. The Mountain Soul makes short work as the big carry's now down 4 versus 5 for the rest of this game, but I don't think this game's going on much longer. As Waco starts firing at the turret, the wave's going to be escorted in, and Deep Cross Gaming are our second seed, but Beyond Gaming are making them look foolish here in the first game of the series, as Hana's up next. To the menu flies Leaky. And beyond gaming, there's just something in the water of the BO5 because this team has changed their outlook completely running into playoffs, and I'm all about it as they beat down the second seed in game 1.
BYG, there's a reason why I put them as that dark horse, because of their execution around these team fights, and it just keeps getting better and better. BYG, they take game number 1, and it's not even close. The one blip was that level 3 moment, right? Down in that bottom lane, taking the Krugs. Husha does get caught out, they collapse upon it, and that was the last we saw of DCG in this game.
It's sad.
Because after that, it was just choke out after choke out.
Yeah, I was saying it's sad because the early game from Deep Cross Gaming, it's like, okay, they played towards bottom side, they freed up bottom lane, but first of all, Chris Carter didn't get the kill. He didn't get an early cash in, no matter how small and meager the gold would have been, but he doesn't get that gold. I feel like the second part as well is the response from Husha as well. You know, we was so clean. Rinse and repeat the bottom lane summoners that we use, punish them, and get these early dragons stacking. And Chris Carter was a big damage source. And Deep Cross Gaming, as you said, Nightstar, are a team that play towards solo lanes, especially when we look at Nesty roaming across the map. When we look at, you know, that top lane being the core carry on the Gragas. Like, what do you do there? Options weren't the same as Deep Cross Gaming played in the BO1s in regular season.
Yeah, and we can see how Lee Kai's development in the previous series led to perhaps the Gragas being taken, right? Because if this was during regular split, he for sure just goes for the Mordekaiser and says, you're not going to play the Fiora. But because he played the Fiora in the last game, looked pretty darn good on it, all of a sudden it changes the calculus and how you start to draft, because now you can't go for an Ornn for some of these not so dominant laners, because if you give Fiora that airspace, she does just run you over and take over the game.
I feel like, you know, blue side for a lot of teams is great, but when you have really prominent solo laners, I don't know, DCG might be one of those teams where red side is more impactful. You know, blue side at the moment, you were saying before coming in playoffs, it's already got a big win rate. I know in LPL, it's just insane at the moment. It's so silly. Globally, let's be real. But Nightstar, I mean, DCG might be one of those teams that need the counterpick for their solo lanes and are willing to play the trade-off in bot, because Chris Carter and Woody aren't the strong 2v2 that, you know, we kind of look at Wako and Kino as.
Yeah, Wako Kino, or Kino, historically, back when he had Doggo, they were always looking for those 2v2 kills. And Wako, also an extremely lane dominant player. So it fits their playstyle to play more of the Draven. However, in this first game, it was DCG that picked it up. It ended up flopping considerably. This is one of those cases where you can plan as well as you can plan, which is exactly what DCG are good at. And they saw that, hey, they want to take Krugs, they want to choke out this bot lane, we collapse upon it, right? But no matter how good that plan is, it all goes up in smoke once you take that first haymaker to the chin.
Okay, we're watching one of the Dragon plays. This is a little bit later on, and it feels like, I know this is the first one actually, not to correct myself, but there were so many moments like this where for DCG, it was just a question as to why are they contesting, what play they're making across the map, like what's the forward-thinking strategy of this team, where Beyond were always thinking about what play they could make next, to be blunt.
Yeah, and the numbers advantage here, the kills here at this tower really doomed the bot lane, because you look at the wave, the fact that they kill Cascada, he gets denied this entire 2 waves here. And then the waves are also, of course, bouncing back towards him, towards Wako. Like, Wako took that advantage and never looked back. And of course, the other player, the factor in was Kino on this Ashe pick. We don't know him as this range support player, but in this particular game on the Ashe, he was actually their siege. He was the one autoing towers when they were setting up the 1-3-1 or the 1-4, and he played the range to perfection.
He did. It's so easy when, you know, Minji, Swain ult here all game long. Like, there was no other ult that Minji took. He always picked up the Demonic Ascension. And I have to say, in the end, like, even though Nesty seemed like the strongest member of DCG, better Swain wins. You know, Minji had such a good game on the Sylas, and it sits into his champion pool, Nightstar. And we look at a lot of things like the Ahri, the Akali, the Sylas that, you know, Minji always, well, pretty much looks good on.
Yeah, and it's a little bit unfortunate we don't get 12-15 because of the fact that Akali did get buffed, right? But if Beyond Gaming make the dream run happen from the 6th seed position, Akali's back in flavor for Worlds, so
True.
that would be very, very exciting. But that's thinking a little bit too far for ourselves here.
Well, I mean, look, for BYG, maybe not. With the way they're playing, maybe not. Like, Minji's damage, yeah, insane. But this is why I love Ashe support. This is why, for anyone out there, it feels like Freelo still in the live patch. Just go and play it. Do yourself a favor. Because the ability to playmate through lane as well, having so much threat with the Halo Blades, it just feels too good at the moment. And the fact that he did almost as much as Wako doesn't really surprise me.
Yeah, because later on in the game as well, it does become harder and harder for Kalista to find auto attacks in these fights. That was never the issue for the Ashe. Always able to throw out those W's against the low range composition of DCG and out damaging everyone else except for Cascada. But it will be Minji taking the MVP, getting his hands onto the Sylas pick. I mentioned, hey, coming into this mid pool will come down to Talia, Sylas. Sylas shows up in game 1, Talia gets banned away, and the difference is clear.
One of his best champions in the regular season as well. I feel like for Minji, there's going to be a lot more respect given over by Deep Cross Gaming in game number 2 to whether he gets this champion. 200% gold out of damage out of gold, excuse me, as well, is just an incredible stat. So Minji again playing the better Swain, Minji playing the better mid laner, and BYG bouncing back in an early game that seemed pretty doomed when Hana started DCG off with the 2-0. But Nightstar, we're going to go to a break, see if Deep Cross can actually have a response, or if BYG are somehow unstoppable as we continue with playoffs.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 370 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
time, come on over. Love you till the end of time. Till the end of time. Till the end of time. Love you till the end of time.
I'm taking my pain away, nothing else more to say. Everything that I have, I'll give. First, you gotta pick a side. Now you got a team and you're rolling with the pride. Wanna play the game, make it to the end. I wanna bring it back again. I feel it inside. I'm reaching my stride. I'm standing my ground. Now I won't give in. I'm moving ahead. I'm back from the dead. I'm ready to fight again. Raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof. I'm raising the roof. All the mistakes I made, now I can change my fate. No one can take this heart away. First, you gotta pick a side. Now you got a team and you're rolling with the pride. Wanna play the game and make it to the end. I wanna bring it back again. I feel it inside. I'm reaching my stride. I'm standing my ground. I won't give in. I'm moving ahead. I'm back from the dead. I'm ready to fight again. Raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof. I'm raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof. I'm raising the roof. Find another way to fight another day. Find another way. Find another way to fight another day. Find another way to fight another day. Find another way. Find another way to fight another day. I feel it inside. I'm reaching my stride. I'm standing my ground. I won't give in. I'm moving ahead. I'm back from the dead. I'm ready to fight again. Raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof. I'm raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof, raising the roof. I'm raising the roof. How long can it last, you ask me? As long as you want, if you give it a try. But you still got a past, you ain't past yet. You gotta let go and leave it behind. Can you tell me now, baby? You gotta let me know. If you're all in, can you say it aloud, baby? You gotta let me know. So just say the words. I know that I can't get enough. I feel the vibe every time we touch. Oh yeah, you can decide. And who you trust. Give me a sign. If it's right, then we can climb on waterfalls. We can climb on waterfalls. There ain't nothing stopping us. We can climb on waterfalls.
了一个位置，又是第三个，我的天啊！然后是拿了一个大手，还持续的追击，现在的话要是上追风，这一波手上挂了一个治愈，说你一个治愈就要这么点输了。看这个红魔的一个追，拿着对方毛病向我把脚给推了回去。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PCS here for Summer Playoffs. My name's Asterix. I'm joined by Nightstar. And as always, you know that we're sponsored by CDBC Bank and China Airlines. You know what? Just this once, let's thank Riot Games, Carry Live, and Garena for operating and producing the PCS, because if they weren't here, maybe we wouldn't be. Now, Nightstar, let's be real. Last game, bit of a surprise considering that DCG were a second seed, but Beyond Gaming just beat them down in quite literally under 30 minutes. Oh, pretty good gameplay.
Yeah, it was pretty much a steamroll from start to finish. The only blip was at like the 3-minute mark. And after that, they never looked back. For the side of DCG, this game one did feel like a bit of an anomaly though, right? Because we had Cascada not really on a teamfight champion. It was the Draven. So you needed to see a lot more activity coming in from the bot lane early on. And that's not really their strong suit. Woody also not known to be a lane dominant support. So the fact that this matchup looked so one-sided, not too surprising, even though they did go for the Renata Draven lane. And that's something I expect to see them move away from.
Yeah, it is crazy to me because I feel like I haven't seen a Draven, you know, fall so far behind when they were set up by the early gank, the counterpunch. Like, for Chris Carter and Woody, they got dipped by Wako and Kino, and, you know, maybe that's what Pyrotechnics and Clement were trying to tell us, that the bottom lane here means a little bit too much as we enter Big Ban again. Now, DCG have side selection, as do the losers of each game in the series. They've chosen blue here, Nightstar, if I get my words out. And I'm kind of curious because we go back to the buy first pick, but surely something has to change.
The Sivir ban does get dropped by the side of BYG, and they instantly look to snap it up. And if this does get locked in, I would expect to see a Zeri Sivir handshake occur. And I would also say that Cascada would be a lot more comfortable in this matchup. But it also leaves up to Silas once more, right? And I mean, Minji, there was a reason why he was MVP in that previous game.
It's hard because, you know, they're banning this Nautilus on blue side. The Nautilus that against J-Team did so much work. As you said, a good pull out here, Nightstar, that it is going to be the Zeri Lulu trade here in the bottom lane for DCG, which goes more to their playstyle. But I'm concerned that you've given Minji over this Silas again. And now especially, you know, we're going to see the other support that Kino has done well all split long. That is 4 out of 5 wins on in summer and playoffs included.
See if it gets locked in at the end, and it does. So this is, of course, really in his wheelhouse, getting the melee support champions. And the reason why I would say Woody, Enzo looked so good in their rise to really the upper echelons of our support pool was also because of the fall of Kino and Kaiwing, with how dominant they were on melee supports, and then melee supports falling out of flavor. Woody now contending against the best melee support player in the league on Kino. Let's see how this plays out.
I'm definitely scared because, you know, last time we saw lane presence of BYG hover down towards bot side. And it feels like, you know, we're set up again with Minji at the Silas, but I also like that there's this same ban set from BYG. Talia Galio against Nesty, getting rid of some of the semi-globals that are used to interact with the rest of the map.
And this time they will go ahead and ban away the Zim.
Yep.
I like that adaptation here. Make sure he doesn't get to play big, strong teamfight champion.
Trundle's open though.
Trundle is open, and it would allow you to apply a lot more skirmish potential, especially against the Vi pick here. This would
hang
not
on.
be it. But they go for yet another team fight oriented jungler, the Viego, although it should be a lot more skirmish heavy here this time.
And Viego is something that has just fallen quite by the wayside, so surprised to see who should pull it out. But, you know, also the carry potential there as well as DCG bringing Yone. Alrighty, now Nesty decides he's gonna take it personally against Minji. DCG might be going for a passive top side, but hey, look, at the very least, we got a Yone, we got a Zeri on their side. This time, it feels like the direction doesn't just rely on bottom lane.
Adding a little bit more damage into this mid lane with the Yone. We'll really need to see him perform in the lane phase in order to have that extra damage reliably in these team fights. As in the previous game, he did do well in the lane phase against Minji. Of course, both of these players not known to run away with any leads in the 1v1, but we get the last pick, Camille, to come out from BYG. I love this adaptation, knowing, hey, we need some sort of lockdown onto this extremely mobile carry of Zeri. What better way to do it than to throw your Camille Hextech Ultimatum and make sure she can't get over walls?
And even though I'd prefer, you know, the Garen pick from Lakai, I just think it's so funny that, you know, we've swapped around. Like Lakai in regular season, the Na, the Gwen, the Sejuani, he was a very passive top laner in comparison to people like Leaky, who had this Mordekaiser counter, who had things like GP, he even played Wukong in the top lane. Like, yeah, he had a balance, but still Leaky was definitely more of the carry style. And I feel like at this point, while we're talking about shifting in the top side, night side, we can just touch up on the fact that BYG, we've got a bit of a side lane comp. We've got a bit of, you know, something that can play 1-3-1, but also something that can pivot in angles and team fights. Pretty exciting and something that is a little bit harder to execute, but after seeing in game number 1, I'm pretty confident with what I see.
And this is what they added on later on in the split here for Lee Kai, is that he diversified his pool. He is picking up the Camille, which was really his one-trick champion when he was on Machi last year. So he's very comfortable. They just didn't really play around this 1-3-1 setup as much, where they had flanking side laners come in and approach these fights. But now they've finally added that dimension, and this is probably one of the most improved teams because of that.
I feel like if BYG win this series, they're going to be the most improved team undoubtedly as well. Like, if they win this series, if BYG take us to match point with a win here, it's just a huge turnaround from 6th seed to semifinals to the chance of going to Worlds. Beyond Gaming on the warpath, trying to return once again. And it's not with Doggo, but it's with Wako, who honestly has still been one of the best ADs and one of the most impactful players, especially on this roster. So welcome back to Summoner's Rift Nightstar. We didn't get to talk about DCG's comp, but seeing Nesty here, seeing the team fighting capabilities, we look at the scaling and even against a Siva, Camille, it feels like those ultis and those full-on engages are going to be fun to watch for DCG if we get late game.
And the Yone response here is, I feel like, mostly to try and punish Minji for getting away with a lot of stuff he was doing, where he just constantly jumped in, and as the Swain, you don't have ways to hard punish that. With the Yone, you will have those tools. You have the damage, you have the dueling potential to be able to take it to Minji in that case, and also rocking the Ignite. So I do like the changes coming in from DCG. The only problem is it's still Leaky, your strongest individual member, set onto this Gragas. Oh my lord.
Walks up by himself, and Wako and Kino get a free trade. Now Ghost will be burned, but Chris Carter is now just at 1/3 of his HP this early in the lane.
Yeah, and now the side of BYG, they can just walk up a little bit more so than they normally would, because you have that melee support. Against the double range, you shouldn't really have push priority or kill threat early on, but because of that big chunk there, that might force Fusha to look for a kill early on because of the opportunity presented.
Especially when level 2s hit first hit from Chris Carter and Woody, they are going to get shoved in this lane. So the wave set up for Husha if he can find 3. DCG do have a ward, as their observer is showing now, but Husha now moving down. He's not even touching blue anymore. Gonna be moving into Fog of War, but here we go. Spotted out. Kino simply has to land a Zenith Blade. Chris Carter walked back in, though, which is a bit of a danger move, but at least safe for now.
Yeah, right when Husha was making his way down, Kino looked for the engage with the Zenith Blade, did whiff it. So, in the end, it will still be them getting zoned off of CS.
He's
which
tripling
is still,
down.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Husha's sticking
Kino still
around.
has flash. But Hana is here now. Remember, this play was what bit them in the behind last game where they tried to overforce when they found an advantage. And this time around, BYG, they'll say, you know what? We'll go ahead back off.
Husha spotted out in that ward in the river as well. So this time, DCG able to make a safer play too, as bottom lane just moves up to clear that out with Wako and Kino. A bit of a CS lead from Wako and Kino, worth mentioning here as the wave pushes into turret, but Chris Carter is still going to be behind and feels like that earlier trade does impact them somewhat. As we haven't talked about the rest of the map, note right now that Leaky versus Lakai. Leaky is doing well in the matchup. Lakai down about 10 CS with a build up from Leaky's wave 2.
Yeah, and I don't think Leakai's too worried about this. Again, he's played so many Camille games last split. This is very much home for him. So he knows the ins and outs of this champion. It's going to come down to, you know, the fact that he will eventually outscale the Gragas in the 1v1. But most importantly for Leaky, it's going to be hard for Leakai to still find these all-in trades until much later on, where you can just kind of one-tap the Gragas because of how much disengage is built into him.
Oh, Kino flashing forward. Ignite, though, in the meanwhile. Chris Carter going to get out after cleansing, but the Ignite trade onto Kino. Chris Carter trying, but the Zenith Blade. Kino jumps back in. First Blood goes down, and Kino's so tanky. Woody can't kill him yet. Glitter Lance at least finishes the job, though, as Wako sends out the Boomerang. And only just surviving as Woody. But look at this wave. Once again, Wako is able to push a massive wave in. And Chris Carter's nowhere nearby, Nightstar.
Wako and Kino are just so damn good.
Yeah.
Oh my god. They just know their trade timings, and when they punish hard. And the side of Chris Carter, Woody, they also misread the situation here in that instance. They see, hey, this definitely should have been a case where they back off the wave. But Kino, this is great play from him, knowing that, hey, we can just keep on chasing. I'm Leona. I'm still incredibly durable when I have that W on. And just look at the amount of damage he's able to soak up. Then the extra healing comes in, I believe, from the level up, and that keeps him alive long enough for Waka to almost get another kill.
You know, we come back, and once again, it's rinse and repeat, right? This bottom lane is an issue for DCG. Chris Carter's able to catch up in some CS, but that's him clearing the wave. While right now, Wako has a build-up of his own, so he'll be able to push ahead by about 10 as Chris Carter jumping into this, but Kino is yet again back. But hey, Hana is by his side, so this time it isn't going to be a bad move. As Hana is still moving into the wave, and beyond gaming, this could be a counterpunch that hits them hard if he can get in, but of course the answer is no.
Yeah, the setup is just not there. Wave isn't in a good spot to do so, and that's really go ahead and crash that wave, reset this bottom lane state, which has been quite dire. At the very least, because of that, attention down in the bot lane, it allows Nesty to continue farm up a Storm. Currently on 60 CS, doing well for himself in top lane.
Root down, and look who's here, flash in, and yeah, Woody's just going to die. Now they turn on to Chris Carter, he gets over the wall, but the kill went to Wako again. DCG are just feel like they're going to be gapped in this series through bot night stuff.
Yeah, it's starting to become a really, really massive issue. And the side of DCG, remember, they lost game 1, so they had side selection. They could have pivoted back towards playing top lane by going ahead and move over to the red side, allow Leaky to have counter pick, but they decide to stay over on blue side. And once again, they are suffering because of it. Even though they get a counter pick in Nesty on this Yone, the top lane is still on a fairly unimpactful champion of Gragas.
Yep.
We get to see the replay. Really nothing to see here. It's just really excellently done from BYG, instantly jumping onto the supports, and Husha expending the flash to just guarantee the kill comes through.
Now, as we come back to live, of course, Herald's going to be started by DCG, and gold is even because of what's happening in the top lane with a massive lead up there. So that enables Hana to start off this Herald. But Husha is once again hovering, looking for Nesty, who dives forward. Minji steals the Fate Seal, gets him mid-ulti, but at least Nesty channels before he's caught out completely. Husha jumps on him for a bit of damage, and for BYG, there's nothing more than that. So a win finally for DCG, as the Herald is picked up without losing anything else.
But even then, they're still going to lose this red buff, and they're also, they did lose a plate down in that bottom side. I would expect them to all in for that. Yep.
Okay. We get a pause. Somebody doesn't like their red buff being taken. We'll find out what that the cause of that exactly is, but maybe maybe it could have been mid. Never seen a Fate Sealed into a Fate Sealed. But look, with what we've seen, Knights saying this in this game 1 and game 2, Beyond Gaming are winning through bot, and it might not just be in the 2v2. It's also the setup that Husha brings in. That Chris Carter and Woody right now seem like some of the weakest laners. As we're actually coming back in. So never mind whatever the issue was. It's completely gone, and we're getting ready for a bot dive.
Man advantage down in the bot lane, but Hana is somewhat nearby. He's looking to make his way over, and that information is enough for the side of BYG to just go ahead and call the play off with still massive advantages down in that bottom lane. And this top lane, while Likai is suffering a little bit here, he shouldn't have an issue as the game progresses, right? It's still a Camille into a Gragas. While Gragas may have so many disengaged tools, there will be a certain point where Likai just picks him in the head and he just loses 50% of his HP.
And it is tank Gragas as well, right? So we are going to, wait for that damage to fall off a little bit sooner. Because Likai is obviously suffering with Sad B up on the top side. Sheen is the only part of Divine Sunder he has right now with, I guess, Ruby Crystals there too. But that's what's keeping DCG afloat in this early game with the bot lead that's in front of us now. Waco's also going to be able to get this next plate. And you look at the play, DCG are committing Chris Carter and Woody up to topside with this Herald Nightstar. But as soon as BYG know, they have Waco bot with a free push and 3 plates left to go.
And not only that, it's also a dragon for free, right?
True.
45 seconds. They should go ahead, stick around, get as many places as they can bottom lane, and then turn their attention towards that dragon. It is a Hex Tech dragon. And for Soul, if it's not Ocean, it's going to really suck for the side of DCG, because then BYG just force you to test these next objectives around the dragon, and they also have the extra bonus stats coming in from the Hex Tech. They're just going to try and push for as much as they can topside here.
Yeah, they get the charge in. I mean, Minji had to TP, otherwise that was in a turret gone. So maybe for DCG for losing out so much in bottom lane, this play ain't too bad. He is chunky, and he's going to get a lot of gold here from the turret response. But DCG are moving towards mid. I mean, this is a great play. This is a very good response.
This is...
They're going to get Dragon too, because TP was burnt.
Yeah, this is a very clean response from them. And now they also have the priority to actually set up around this second dragon. If they manage to steal this away, that would be massive, but they are kind of sitting on a bunch of gold, right? There's Skada, he's been behind, he got a huge influx of gold, so maybe don't want to take the fight because of that. And for the side of BYG, like, as things stand, you still have the stronger AD carry, so I think that's why DCG have decided to give this up. At the same time, the extra influx of gold, there was so much solo gold going into Waco. He's on a really fat buy.
So second dragon does go down. Further to your point, there was an Everfrost for Minji, so also paying respect after the play. I think the biggest thing as well is, Leaky not in position to run in and set up for the team fight. So for DCG, losing yet another dragon after the good map response play. We'll have to see what items come through next because Berserkers was just picked up by Chris Carter, or at least before he went back. Now has the Immortal Shield Bow, fully completed item. Well, as you're talking about Wako on the Sivir, there's a Kraken Slayer, double longsword. And this Sivir is very elevated into this game. And it does feel like BYG, despite being 1,000 gold behind, are in a very comfortable position when we talked about how they side lane and how they can force with the dragon stacking already started.
Now, I'm keen to see where Nesty is in his build. He should be very close to that Blade of Ruin King, but as it stands, DCG will be able to steal away a red buff. So, they're still finding small victories on the map. Just, they need to hit that one item power spike, and maybe they have the opportunity. Of course, at 2 items, that's where your tanks will feel really, really tanky. And that's going to be the case for both Nesty and Leaky, who will be going for those tank mythic items. And I like the change. Playing with that.
Yeah.
Back to the point. It's the fact that Nesty on this Yone going the tank build will allow him to be the primary engage tool rather than before where when DCG have to have Hana be the primary engage, they do struggle in that regard. So I like the shift, and we'll need to see how Nesty actually performs.
I feel like for Nesty as well, this champion, we looked at last game, he's just picked up Blade of the Ruin King, by the way. So, worth mentioning here with the first item coming out for multiple members. But I was going to say for Nesty, he's been denied his map movement. He's been denied his huge team fight semi-global champions. But this one is still reliant in the team fight. So for Nesty, it's still a good dynamic. And as we look at this second Herald, everyone's grouping up. I think Nightstar, we're going to get a fight even over the second one.
This could be the big fight we're looking for from the side of DCG.
But they're late. They're very late coming in.
They are late.
They've got the eye exposed.
BYG,
Minji has the ulti. There's an explosive cast that comes through. Kino baited out, but the fate sealed in the back line. Nesty doing so much work under Wako.
Wako's gone.
He gets the Sivir, and Nesty's caught in the pit for the time being.
That's
a reset
resets.
comes in for Husha, but it's not working out. Leaky is such a big fridge. As Chris Carter gets over the wall, the space given. Chris Carter flashes, and Minji's the last one alive. DCG taking the team fight, and it all happened so fast, but Chris Carter is now unleashed.
And this is the DCG we were expecting to see come out in these playoffs. This team that might not necessarily have the best laners, but when it comes to team fighting, this is why Chris Carter was heralded as one of the better rookies coming up into this split. We get to see the replay of the fight. Kino actually ends up getting jumped on by the side of DCG, and because of the burst damage, that actually throws the rest of the fight in shambles because Kino isn't able to occupy that choke point and stop DCG from funneling into the fight. And then the ultimate comes in, Fate Sealed gets onto Wako, deletes him from the fight, and that's all their damage gone because that is the Kraken Slayer Sivir that should have been super far accelerated, but now they've tossed a little bit of that back into the hands of DCG.
It's just what you want to see from Chris Carter. The lane hasn't been working out, but he finally gets the free hit in the team fight. It ain't the Draven that we saw last game that wasn't able to get in range. Chris Carter unleashed now with 2 items. The next Dragon's going to be pretty big, and it feels like Nesty as well deserves a lot of respect for that last fight after picking up his Blade of the Ruin King. And we talked a lot about the top side play moving into mid. They might not have gotten that Dragon, but with the gold trade being able to have an equilibrium in that last fight, feels like for DCG, that's what set them up for now a 4K gold lead, as I said before, and a Dragon that they can contest.
And DCG now looking to contest this next Dragon. Mountain Soul will be on the table once more. So these choke points still will be very difficult to navigate through. So getting to the objective first is going to be imperative from both of these sides. Now Hana looking to look for, or fishing for a move. And maybe the side of DCG, they start to set up some flank angles as well with Nesty on this Yone. But as things stand, they've reversed positions, Hysterics. They've kind of gone around in a circle.
But the problem is there's Herald here for Husha. So as DCG now looks to engage, Hana goes in with a Vault Breaker. Lakai thinking about his angle with a hookshot wall shot, but Nesty's the one I want to look at here. The level 12 Yone jumping on in onto Lakai. Steal the ulti. It buffers it. As they go all in here though on the top support, they'll still take him out. Chris Carter gets a double yet again, and in those small positions, DCG punch down. A good pick.
And now you get to see Hana really come into his own because of the fact that Nesty's the one starting out the engages. He's such a good jungler on following up a primary engage. When we call on him to force to play himself, that's where he can sometimes struggle. That's not the case here, as Nesty makes it very easy for him to lay out the pick. They find the pick on Likai, drag another in with him, and it's just an easy dragon take after.
I love how we're looking back again. You said the reverse positioning. And Lakai just making a grievous mistake here on the Camille. So far away from the rest of his team.
Yep. And the follow-up engage is just really clean. And for DCG, they're really good at calling for the play they need to make. Sometimes the execution isn't quite there, but in that case, you know, they follow up on their leader leading them into battle, and it comes out big time for the side of DCG as they get a dragon to their name. And ooh, Hana almost got picked off there, but more fight.
Starting it off, here's the cease and desist, but he's faded in. I mean, Hana doesn't care. There's an explosive cask in the middle of 3 members. Beyond Gaming are leaving Minji behind, and they keep giving Chris Carter all the kill. Beyond now going to get tunneled on, and look, Wako's not nearby to ult them away. DCG will pull off because the turret's there, but this just feels inevitable at this point with Chris Carter now in team fight mode.
Chris Carter's going to hit that Infinity Edge so quick, and Zeri in the PCS hasn't really performed up to par, but at the same time, we just haven't seen the Zeri being picked with an Enchanter, and there hasn't really been team fight set up to allow the Zeri to thrive. But DCG, they lock it in, and it's absolutely dominating this game, even with a rough early game.
Now, I will say that I feel like for Beyond Gaming, rather, there is a way, as we talked about earlier in the game, for them to come back into this, but it's so far behind right now. It's 6,000 gold against them. The double dragon stacking might make a difference in the end, but for now, it looks pretty difficult to see how Lakai starts sidelining, how Minji becomes more relevant as well. And Wako, even as he gets to the 3 items, as we've talked about, Chris Carter will be there first. Chris Carter might even be to the GA at this rate before Wako has his 3rd item. So it looks hard for Beyond Gaming, and a really good turnaround as Husha might even just be caught out here. Sees the ward, sees a Gragas in the brush, but Beyond want to turn onto him, but with an explosive cast, Kino now sent to mid lane. A Solar Flare, and Everfrost, an explosive cast that's even better. It's a good setup, and Leaky takes so long to die as Lakai jumps on in. Wako now free-hitting. We've got a Sivir who's ricocheting for days onto Chris Carter. They can't kill him though. Nesty tries to get him. Boomerang Blade helps out. Lakai sets up the engage with the Vault Breaker. Wako with the Spell Shield. His team fight being challenged. Nesty jumps on in the Boomerang. Wako can do it too. A double kill for the 80 carry, replacing Doggo. And now with low health bars, the Glitterland buys some time. But Beyond Gaming from the brink of a bad team fight, bring it all coming back.
Oh my lord, the sidestepping coming in from Wako at the very end keeps his health bar above 0. And he lives through that fight, carrying it, getting a double kill in BYG's fortunes, even at 6k gold down. They managed to actually win that. It is ridiculous.
I just can't believe. You know, we saw this out, the flash comes through, but Minji's ulti sets up for Beyond Gaming to be combat. Look how long Leaky takes to die.
Leaky just soaking up so much damage, of course, just with the tank build. And the key part was just how far Nesty was from that fight. Took way too long to get into it, and this is where it gets fun. They jump onto Wako, the spell sheet comes through, and then he takes a big chunk of damage here, and then he's just sidestepping. Look at it. It barely lives on a sliver of HP, and it makes it very, very close. This could have just been the ace from over 5k down, which is bonkers.
It's a shutdown too. Damage is huge from Wako. Now, Chris Carter was still able to benefit off the fight. It's still 6,000 gold. But Wako has shown now what this Civic can do, and I believe we're at 3 items or just about there. We'll see when the damage graph goes down, as LDR was simply picked up then back in the base, so we're not going to get an IE yet, but we are going to get an LDR to cut through. As, speaking of cutting through, Chris Carter is a 3 items Zeri too, so I feel like that's one moment from Beyond Gaming, but DCG are still showing us that this should be their game.
And because of the Mountain Rift, it actually makes it nigh impossible for BYG to get into the Dragon fight, because they're just trapped. You can't get around these choke points against the Electro Laser. So, side of BYG, they decide to back off of this objective, waiting for perhaps one more item on Wako before they force a dragon fight. Thankfully, still a lot of time bought because of their first 2 dragons.
Usha was spotted out there. I was worried DCG were thinking about turning, considering the lens spotted that ward over the wall. And when the lens was cutting it out, knowing that there was no control ward there, they knew that Husha was standing by. So, really dangerous play, but at the very least, BYG not getting punished, not getting hurt after the dragon goes over to DCG. And the timer does mean that, we are going to get a soul at the earliest of around 34 minutes. And for Beyond Gaming getting those first 2 dragons, maybe it's enough for them. Maybe it's enough for them to find another one of those dream fights. As Leaky, just explosive cast in the end. Okay, fair enough. He probably thought someone was waiting there.
A little bit hopeful there. It does mean that, there's a small chunk of time. Pick onto Minji, maybe.
On the side, he ults as well. Husha's here, though, might be a turn, but Chris Carter makes sure that Minji regrets the decision to go in. That's so much damage so quickly. It's like, hi, going pretty deep, and DCG now with the pick. Look, there's no mid laner. 30 seconds trying to threaten the Baron.
They are going to just go ahead and pull off after finding the pick, but Minji definitely overplayed his hand in that case. Fishing for the pick, ends up getting spotted by Hana as he made a rotation, try and get some deep vision, and they turn the play on its head. However, Xerix, we are 25 minutes into the game, and there's been 3 towers taken total. So the next fight, if it ends up getting dominated by one of these teams, there's a lot of standing gold that will just fall off the map very, very quickly because of the Baron and because of the extra tower gold available.
Yeah, it feels like, as well, like, for DCG, the turret take is so quick. Zeri, Yone, that's why as well the Baron threat is the same. As Nesty is just going to go and send out his spirit to try and find out if anyone's towards the Baron. There is a ward from Beyond Gaming in that Pixel Brush. As DCG are moving up here without Chris Carter for the time being. All the Baron that was spotted out. Lakai ultis in. Kino solar flares. Explosive cast doesn't work out, but Wako flashes on in. But they can't kill Chris Carter yet. But Minji finishes the job. Big shutdown for Husha, and they've still got Wako alive. Nesty runs on him, but now he's separated. Leaky's getting hit hard. The boomerang blade almost kills him. But look, it's Reset City. Husha's in again. A double kill for Wako, and now Husha's relevant too. That was brilliant off the back of that ward in the Pixel Brush to get Chris Carter.
Oh my god, it looked like they were just going to overforce once more, perhaps overplay their hands again, this time with Leakai, but he finds the pick. The follow-up is just so insane. And BYG, this is what I mentioned. If they find a dominating team fight win, there's so much standing gold. They get themselves the Baron, and now they're going to start chopping down all these structures. This gold lead will evaporate very, very quickly.
As we said, you know, it's the dragon lead earlier. It's the 2 first dragons. I mean, DCG are in such a dangerous position as it's the Warden River. They saw DCG moving past the Baron and beyond with a massive 5-head to try and take the numbers advantage.
And such a clean, good sidestep coming in from Leakai as well. His positioning means that Leaky actually isn't able to dislodge the Camille from the Hextech Ultimatum. And that means Cascada has nowhere to go. He can't flash, doesn't have those tools available to him. And then the mop-up, Husha, of course. Viego, while it may have fallen down the tier list when it comes to these junglers, still offers those pop-up potentials when you do start off the fight with a clear pick like that. And of course, Sivir, you know, she is the queen of mopping up fights with the extra move speed and those ricochets.
And with the LDR picked up before, it meant no IE, but after that fight, BF Sword Pickaxe. We're so close to getting Infinity Edge out of Wako, and he's ahead of Chris Carter now in CS. He might not be at the same item point, but this Sivir, as we've seen in the PCS already, the ricochets are just too crazy, and with Beyond Gaming now gearing up around this dragon, they look more favored than they should have been in this second game that DCG opened us up with. Now trying as they're going to get into River and Nightstar. I'm concerned because Lakai's on a flank, Minji's on a flank too. Dragon gets pulled out towards DCG. Hana wants to jump on in with a Vault Breaker, the burst down. Dragon's going to reset a little bit. It's an Ultra Shock Laser there, and DCG are just going to have to wait, but Minji walks in to a fake field. He's caught out, but he goes golden, but meanwhile, Dragon is going to go down to Husha for a one-man pick as a Solar Flare, and the explosive cast saving Lakai. Chris Carter gets the kill, but now Soul Point for BYG.
And BYG really get away with pretty much everything they wanted in that instance. Yes, they lose Minji, because he was coming in on the flank, but because they allocated resources to address the flank, it means BYG able to secure themselves the 3rd dragon. They will give up this mid-tier 2, but for BYG, they don't necessarily have to force a fight. They still, they probably understand they're still a little bit behind, and this Baron is mostly about really having the amount of gold lead DCG did have.
Look for DCG, you know, the pick off onto Chris Carter. It means we're getting towards 5th item a little bit sooner too. He's already got the GA, so it's still DCG's game somewhat, but the biggest problem is now that Wako has his 4th item, the Infinity Edge is there. And we've seen so many different times that for BYG, there's a lot of time-taking strategies. Minji with the Zonyas, Husha with his passive here, Lakai as well with his own ulti, and Kino has been someone who's been pretty on point as the Leona this time around too. It feels like these fights are going longer and longer, and once those DCG ultimates are down Nightstar, we kind of look at like, oh well, Chris Carter doesn't have the movement speed, the ability to dash in and play around the fight as well. Nesty's ult's down, Hana's ult's down, Leaky's explosive cask is down. Once those are down, Beyond Gaming having time in a fight just feels so easy.
And for BYG, the elephant in the room is Leakai. Down 60 CS on this Camille pick. And the reason why is he hasn't really been playing silently. He hasn't been catching farm. He's been sitting in these bushes nonstop, waiting for a Cascada to walk into him. And it's paid off in a couple of moments. But it's really biting him now because now he can't set up in that side lane to shove in some of these waves against the Gragas, because Gragas, if he were to take the 1v1, is probably pretty comfortable in that moment. Right now, he's grouped up with the squad. And the big thing for Leakai is the fact that he is sitting on a stopwatch. So if he does go deep to try and jump in onto Cascada, he does have a stasis. The drawback, of course, it's the fact that GA is completed on Cascada. So these picks onto him will be a little bit more difficult to execute the round.
Yeah, look, a lot of GAs coming through. You know, Zonya's back up, stopwatch, as you mentioned. There's a lot on the map right now as Minji's taking a ward, but Hana's over there. He's going to face check Lens, but he doesn't react in time as he goes golden. Nesty is not really that deep. The problem is Hana, who gets over the wall. Explosive cast now thrown out. Minji a little bit slow on the reaction, but DCG are the ones who have to burn the flash in the end.
Felt to me that Minji was just trying to bait that situation out, using the stopwatch, and because the snapback came from the Yone, right? You leave behind the Vi. So Vi had to burn the flash. So that is another playmaking tool not available for the side of DCG, and they need all they have to try and get onto Wako, because the more comfortable you leave this man, the more autos he gets into these fights, the more, the less health bars you're going to have because of that extra ricochet damage. And he has an Infinity Edge completed. He is ready to just chop him down.
A minute to go until we see that woodcutting festival, because this is Seoul for BYG. They got the earlier dragons. They picked up the last one as well. And BYG now in the position to make that comeback in the game more than kind of just like a dream. It was a great early game from DCG. Build the momentum with Chris Carter getting double after double after double. But now for once in our League of Legends life in this season, Zeri doesn't feel as relevant as what he actually uses for Duralias. 35 seconds before the Dragon might be off the cooldown, but I guess they were just hoping to find the pick on BYG, who have now grouped up towards mid. The DCG want to match him here in a full 5v5.
Bit of ARAM action going on here in the PCS as Dragon is up in 20 seconds. Neither of these teams actually going into the river until now. And there's not a ton of ward coverage in this area as well. So it's all about the posturing. Maybe, and need to pay attention on the flank angles, because for BYG, they've generated a lot of the pressure off of the flank pressure coming in from Minji and Lee Kai on these solo laners, even though they might not have been successful in finding kills.
I mean, Lakai's actually not here. He's catching midway. So DCG trying to burn this out before BYG get in position. Lakai's still not here. This will lead to soul point for DCG.
Oh, that's a big zap.
As the damage pokes out, Nesty is waiting for this Camille to join in. He's taking a safe path. But for Lakai, now being here so late, the poke continues to come through. Husha relying on that GA that he has. Now into the mist once again. DCG have a reset dragon as Husha dodges away. Poke after poke continues flying through. Just waiting for Lakai to either pick an angle or get caught out, as Nesty wants to do the same with the Fate Sealed. Over the wall, this is his moment for DCG to even up the series, get it all back as it's one-man only on Aquino, who flashes out. Lakai jumps in, Nesty, the four-man! That's all it takes! Nesty's huge ulti as Chris Carter goes over the wall, but he's gone in early! He gets flashed on, he gets resurrected, but Chris Carter may have just thrown the game! No kill in return, a triple for Wako. Nesty stuck in the pit as he wants the quadra kill. Out of range though. Soul's gonna go over, and Chris Carter, I cannot believe it, after what was a beautiful Nesty ult, has just flipped the game due to that jump over.
And Hysterics, I think they've done it. I think they might just go into this 2-0. Of course, the game's not quite done and dusted, but there's still 30 seconds onto Nesty. The side of BYG can just get so much map presence here. They get themselves a Dragon Soul, they get themselves that bot tier 2, they'll move their way up towards this top side and now be able to strip away some of this vision and set their own up, and now they're even going to start the Baron. There's still 7 seconds onto Nesty. The side of DCG have no response.
Gold's even as well, like BYG are now going to start trying to flip this game. Still team fight pressure from DCG, but we're going to look at this replay, I know. And what was such a nice ulti from Nesty, it's just insane to watch the changeover.
Yeah, it looks like this was the play as they get a
all in
man ult. And then Kuskana tries to all in onto Wako, but because of the stopwatch, that really changes the complexion of the fight. If he dies there, then perhaps Cascada is able to take over the rest of the fight. But because he also leaves his support as well, he doesn't have the extra safety coming in from the Lulu to crop him up. And all the good work from Nesty does fall short because of that.
He got an ulti, a WQ, 4k damage. And Wako being able to clean up the rest. Another triple kill here for the AD carry. And sure, like, you know, a lot of people look at that and be like, oh, well, Cascada didn't know about the stopwatch. But still, that one play hurts everything that was set up for DCG to find their leg room back in this game. We now have full item Sivir here on Summoner's Rift. Full item for Cascada too, but his GA is down. Wako's is not. Beyond Gaming playing with the Baron, using top wave coming in. It looks like bot is going to be equalizing a little bit too, but now trying to break all those structures, Nightstar, that you were talking about being available before.
And key is they don't really have any armor penetration to try and get through this Mountain Soul on the side of BYG. So it all boils down to Cascada on this Zeri pick with the help of his Lulu to be able to carry these fights because the damage isn't really coming elsewhere.
Remember, you don't have ability power here. It's a tank Gragas too. So it's all AD. GA, Zhonya's GA. There's a Death Dance up top lane for Lakai with another Chain Vest. There is no AP damage here apart from Leaky's bases and Woody's bases, right? With his minor AP gets from support items. And so for BYG, with multifaceted in that case, it feels like right now the advantage comes through so many different places. BYG trying to break the base here. DCG are making it hard as Lakai actually gets engaged on. They set up the all-in.
They don't have the damage.
But Lakai is surviving for so long. Ulti's him, and Nesty cleans him up. That's good. Ulti over the wall, the Fate Sealed. Nesty's following it up. Busha still has the GA. BYG can try and turn this. Oh, I would be worried as Hana jumps on in. Kino now absorbing up. Wako not feeling confident. They all flash on in. And BYG aren't actually stepping up for the turn. Instead, Deep Cross Gaming get 2 picks and stop the Baron.
And it's really because, again, those choke points are just so dangerous for the side of BYG. You get hit by the electroshock laser coming in from Cascada, and almost all your health is still going to take a big chunk because of just how much damage is still on the Zeri, even without the armor penetration. And really nice execution from the side of DCG, knowing that they actually had enough damage because of how far behind Lee Kai was. He's still only on 3 items, right? Yep. So if he gets caught out, even with the extra durability stats coming in from Mountain Dragon, he's not going to be able to survive the Black Cleaver coming in from Hana, amplifying the Yone damage to finish off that kill.
And now let's set up for what's next, right? Minji going to be walking in blind. That could be what's next. Elder's up in a minute 10. Elder is up in a minute 10. Everfrost comes through. Minji's just dead. 60 seconds, he has TP, but Elder is how DCG can actually win this game.
Yeah, the extra true damage is going to help invalidate the extra resistances coming in from the Mountain Soul, and DCG may have found their way back into this game at 40 minutes into the game. And this feels like a much different 40-minute game than what we had last week in Serix, where it felt like it was just a failure of execution. This time around, DCG, they are fishing really, really hard for these picks, and they are able to find the pickoffs onto the soul layers of BYG.
It's, as you say, really good punishing here. DCG in a team fighting environment. You know, the Mountain Soul might not matter as much as we kind of gave credit for, and especially if they get Elder with 10 seconds left to go. I mean, BYG, they need to contest this. Minji's up in 3 seconds. You cannot give Elder over to this team. Teleport starts it off. Leaky's frontlining here. Ultra Shock Laser. They turn on him. He's by himself, though. And Minji dunks him just as he runs out. It is error after error. It is capitalization after capitalization. 5 versus 4. Lakai and Husha, as you say, are here to take him down.
They're herding them into a corner.
Well, BYG won a 2-0. Fate sealed is good. Nesty relying now on Chris Carter on the backline damage, but they're just running at this Zeri who's in GA. It's GA City here in front of Beyond Gaming. But as Chris Carter dies, we return to square one. Flash from Lakai. Woody getting out. A glitter lance that comes close, but a hook shot, wall shot in 1 second that should be able to kill this Lulu. It misses out, but hey, at the end of the day, Woody has to run to base, and Beyond Gaming have a wave to channel in match point if they can just finish the job.
Are knocking on the base. These death timers are way too long. Leaky will be up in 2 seconds, but it will be a 3-man hold.
Let's
and they
see.
just don't have it.
Okay, BYG, open Nexus turrets, good ulti from Nesty. It's all down to this. He hits everyone though. Nesty's trying his hardest, but as he comes out of his shadow, BYG flipped the game back in our 41. Kill game 2. Match point for BYG and Deep Cross Gaming. Have to go back to the drawing board after that one.
BYG claw from the brink of defeat. And DCG unable to capitalize on their great fortunes during the early game. They got so much gold into Criscata. They tried back-to-back games to make Criscata the main carry. And unfortunately, the lack of damage sources coming in from the solo laners is really coming back to bite them. So BYG, they had a brilliant early game as well, making sure they got the first 2 dragons. And because of that, the mid and late game or the mid game especially, where they can be really weak, at least in comparison to DCG, they got away scot-free because of that extra time.
I just can't believe, after Minji got caught out, and then we flipped the script again. It's like, well, maybe now it's Leaky's turn. It's Leaky's turn to get caught out, and there's this disconnection. And for DCG and Beyond Gaming, I think we can kind of nail it down. Like, there are some fresher members here. Leaky comes in, and we're looking at this top laner for DCG, and we're kind of talking about like his carry performance, his ability to be versatile. On this Gragas, didn't have as great a performance, and I think getting caught out there in the end night start, it's hard to watch considering that DCG had that game in the palm of their hands. They had such a fed Zeri, and team fighting is what we know about this team. The skirmish is early too. Like, it all lines up.
And this seems to be a case of maybe too much pressure is being put on the rookie of Criscata. Do remember, this is only his second pro split. Leaky has had some experience down in the LDL, and I believe a little bit in the LPL. But for the most part, like when it comes to high pressure situations, Criscata hasn't experienced a ton of those. And this was a composition where all the responsibility to carry was put onto him. Because no matter how good the ultimates were going to be coming in from Nesty, from Leaky, from Hana, the only way to finish off kills was if Criscata finished them off himself.
Yeah, that's right. Again, like a lot of AD damage. I feel like Nesty had another good performance. I think Nesty so far has been the strongest member of DCG in both games. That Yone ult was insane, but Criscata and Woody are getting gapped in the bottom lane, whether it is through the laning phase or hell, even towards team fights. Kino and Wako have been on point. And that jump over the wall, Nightstar, I won't forget that, because that jump over the wall, when Shiva has stopwatch, you're looking at inventories, or at least you should be, breaks the game up so that BYG are able to come back in when, I don't know, maybe they shouldn't have been allowed. Maybe they shouldn't have been allowed to get Mountain Soul and get that team fight in front of Elder by mistake after mistake. But, we'll bring up highlights or graph, whichever one comes first. And this, oh no, is this it? This is it.
Yeah, this was the 4-man ult coming in from Nesty. And, they land a lot of damage onto Wako. And this is a situation where if they manage to kill Wako, this fight becomes way easier. But as you mentioned, Wako has the stopwatch, able to buy time with the stasis. saw this beautiful setup, and then Wako goes over the wall, goes into stasis, and then when the rest of BYG come out of their own stasis, they just immediately collapse onto Cascada. And yes, he also has his GA in that moment, but Woody doesn't have a GA. He doesn't have stasis, so he needs a little bit of help from the rest of his team, and the rest of the team just isn't there. And the rest of the fight falls away out of their hands. And we get this next one where this one was the fight where Leaky does get caught out. And that's it, right? Because they don't have much of a front line after that. It's pretty squishy. The collapse comes in, the trap snaps, and BYG come out with a 2-0 out of seemingly nowhere, even though I thought BYG would put probably a more competitive fight than most people would think. I didn't think it'd be this convincing.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think today has just been a line of convincing from BYG, where we have seen Wako and Kino play to the limits. I think Husha has shown us why he was one of the top tier junglers in this split too. You know, Minji had a bit of a shaky game there, but a couple of the last team fights, Minji was better. So I feel like for BYG right now, they're coming in as the underdogs, but even against Deep Cross Gaming, it just seems that in a BO5, BYG are a completely different beast. And the 2v2 lane that matters so much in our Dragon meta is seemingly too much of a loss right now for Deep Cross Gaming, where BYG are taking over. Even if it's from the early game, Wako's never really that far behind.
And this is back-to-back games as well from the side of DCG that they're trying to play towards bot lane. They've thrown resources. They've constantly pulled Hana down into this bottom lane. They've pretty much left top and mid on an island. And because of that, Leaky isn't getting resources to carry the mid and late game fights. So it has to be a change of plan from an approach perspective in this next draft. Just making sure Leaky has the opportunity to scale, but MVP clearly goes into the hands of this man, Wako, who did everything in that game.
14 kills as well. Like, Wako took charge, and you know, it doesn't matter. It's against the Zeri as well. That's the thing that always impresses me. Like, Chris Carter was such a strong 3-item Zeri, but Wako paced his time, and the Sivir got to max items. 48% of his team's damage, no less than you'd expect from Wako here in this game. And right now, it's feeling like BYG, with the reliance on this man, with the jungle difference that I will say has been happening quite a lot through both games too. I don't know. I'm not sure what DCG can do, because they'll have side selection again. Maybe it is time to do red side and give you a solo lane's counter pick for once.
And the irony of this is, Hysterics, our highlight matchup was Leaky versus Leakai.
True.
And in 2 games, there's been pretty much no impact from either, right?
Yeah.
The lane phase hasn't exactly been explosive, and that means Leakai just kind of gets out of these lane phases unpunished, and he gets to do team fight things. In this game, he was just so far behind on the Camille, but you could still feel more impact coming in from him just applying invisible pressure onto Cascada with that ultimatum.
But wouldn't it just be crazy here if BYG can 3-0 Deep Cross Gaming, our second seed of the split? If Beyond Gaming do that, they move to the semifinals, but they're one step away from then moving to Worlds. Beyond with a chance here to make a statement and show the world that they are ready to return back to the world stage right after the year that they went. We'll find out after this short break.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 370 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
long can it last, you ask me? As long as you want, if you give it a try. But you still got a past, you ain't past yet. You gotta let go and leave it behind. Can you tell me now, baby? You gotta let me know. If you're all in, can you say it aloud, baby? You gotta let me know. So just say the words. I know that I can't get enough. I feel the vibe every time we touch. Oh yeah, you can decide and who you trust. Give me a sign if it's right, then we can climb on waterfalls. We can climb on waterfalls. There ain't nothing stopping us. We can climb on waterfalls. We can climb on waterfalls. We can climb on waterfalls. There ain't nothing stopping us. We can climb on waterfalls. Leave all the confusion behind you. So many doors that are open wide. We'll start something new and exciting. Nothing to lose and no reason to hide. Can you tell me now, baby? You gotta let me know. If you're all in, can you say it aloud, baby? You gotta let me know. So just say the words. I know that I can't get enough. I feel the vibe every time we touch. Oh yeah, you can decide and who you trust. Give me a sign if it's right, then we can climb on waterfalls. We can climb on waterfalls. There ain't nothing stopping us. We can climb on waterfalls. We can climb on waterfalls. We can climb on waterfalls. There ain't nothing stopping us. We can climb on waterfalls. We can climb on waterfalls. We can climb on waterfalls. There ain't nothing stopping us. We can climb on waterfalls. You promised that you'd give the most, and it started out like oh so close. Now it's hard to keep you on the phone, on the phone. No matter what I do, you're never satisfied. You don't believe my words, although I never lied. Are you a devil in disguise? I don't get why you're so heavy on my mind. You're so heavy on my mind. Heavy on my mind. You're so heavy, no, I'm not ready for it. Because you're heavy on my mind. You're so heavy on my mind. Heavy on my mind. You're so heavy, no, I'm not ready for it. Because you're heavy on my mind. You promised that you'd give the most, and it started out like oh so close. Now it's hard to keep you on the phone, on the phone. No matter what I do, you're never satisfied. You don't believe my words, although I never lied. Are you a devil in disguise? I don't get why you're so heavy on my mind. You're so heavy on my mind. Heavy You're so heavy on my mind. Heavy on my mind. You're so heavy, though I'm not ready for it. Because you're heavy on my mind. I got to know, what do I feel inside? I lose control. Can't
打他的画面，Triple Kill， 电竞中就要被离开一个前四，完了，我们的 Rock 看起来被打得好，但是自以为这个世界给弹回来，又是 Alex 的一个壁咚，准备要在这一波将巅峰人全员冲掉，差了一个位置，又是第三个，咱们拿了一个打手，开始持续的追击，现在的话瞄准他的 Triple， 这一波手上挂了一个治愈，多你一个治愈之后就被点输了。 红魔的一个推，拿着头上毛线，我把脚给推了回去。
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PCS here for the summer playoffs between DCG and BYG. My name is Eric. I'm joined by Nightstar here as we're at match point in the PCS, sponsored by CTBC Bank and China Airlines. Right Games, Carry Live, and Garena are our PCS league operation and full production people. Now, as we go into this one, Nightstar, all I can say is that we have just been given another turn, right? J Team in the first round, we thought, well, the majority of us thought that BYG were going to get stomped or at least defeated somewhat. We were wrong. Now against Deep Cross Gaming, yet again Beyond Gaming have come up pretty clutch. A 2-0 start in even Game 2, Nightstar, what should have been a pretty convincing game from Deep Cross Gaming. BYG showed us that you can't count them out no matter the cost.
Yeah, and the biggest factor has just been the 80 carry clutch factor.
Yeah.
Cascada given a bunch of resources in game number 2 and getting a lot of kills, unable to deliver. Whereas on the flip side, the Sivir pick coming in from Wako, so much harder to play in these team fights, right? Because you need your team members to play around you, still able to deliver in that regard. And DCG will remain on blue side. They still maintain a lot of the similar bans that we saw here. And one of the things we were talking about off screen was, hey, surely DCG don't go back to the Vi again, right?
Yeah.
But the bans are lined up that they might just go back to the Vi again.
I guess they see it as not a problem. And to be fair, like there were moments in the game that Hana was very useful, but as we saw, Hana hasn't really had much of an impact out of the counter gank at the bot side in game 1, and in game 2, some of the skirmishes that worked in their favor. But DCG picking blue side, as you and I were just like, oh boy, you know, doing the same again. At least we thought there'd be a change in bans, but they've left Minji's Silas open. They've left the Sivir combo, which is okay, maybe not as big. Nightstar, we know they're going to respond with Zeri, but like, there has to be some kind of change in the solo lanes this game from Deep Cross Gaming. Otherwise, I think we're ready to just look at BYG favorably yet again.
Yeah, and it's possible DCG went, you know, hey, we did get a lot of kills into Cascada, and perhaps our execution in the mid game just wasn't as clean as where we wanted it to be to finish out that game. And we think we can clean that up. But that's what they think. What I think is, you're insane from going back to back, same first phase, and same first pick 3 games in a row.
Okay, well, rinse and repeat, why not? And you know what? It's going to be double mid lane ban. Talia, Galio's coming next here, Nightstar. 150 million%. You know, if BYG don't ban away Galio, yep, I'd be surprised. And what was it last time? It's either Zinzao or it's Trundle.
Oh. It's probably better that they ban away the Zin.
Okay.
Yeah, and if BYG do go towards the Viego, I still think Viego's not king in this game, or from a jungle perspective anymore.
Yeah.
The issue is, what are the adaptations coming in from DCG? They need to go for a pick that's not Gragas, and I don't think Ornn is necessarily the answer as well, but that's what they lock in. And what I want to see from this Ornn pick is just put it mid. Just please let Leaky have a playmaker. But no, they...
You know what? I think I'd be more tilted to see Ornn mid. What I'd absolutely love, though, is the fact that
there we go.
We're getting Lakai Silas top, most likely, right? Minji's the Akali player, we know that. But into the Ornn matchup, DCG chose this blue side. BYG have given a very big counter pick up to the top side. And now it's all about the lanes in a very different dynamic from the last game.
And this is wild, right? Because DCG, we herald this team as probably one of the most creative draft squads in the league. And especially coming into playoffs, you give them an extra 2 weeks of preparation. They should have 3 or 4 added layers to that. However, what we've seen is literally the same stuff.
Yeah, somewhat, right? Look, at least this time, you know, before we had the Gragas, we had part of the engage, but this time the team fighting just feels that little bit better. The scaling is going to be a little bit better as well.
Yeah.
At least this time for DCG committing to, you know, that all-in, that very heavy ult-reliant we saw in game number 2. Maybe this cleans it up a bit for them, but what I'm concerned about is that BYG, they've got a Viego Akali, a Viego Silas, these solo lanes Nightstar, if they get ahead, it is going to be so hard for DCG to quell this speed. And BYG could walk away with a 3-0 in what has already been a massive upset here in our quarterfinals. We are about to hit semis with BYG getting a win here. However, DCG, it's a best of 5. Their reverse sweep potential will start now. But with a very similar draft, with the Ornn being the only thing changed, is it going to be enough? Because I feel like this series, DCG have locked themselves into the corner with their drafts, and you know, the Ornn gives a bit more flexibility, but I need to repeat myself. Is it going to be enough with how Beyond Gaming have played this game? Nesty, yeah, don't be disrespectful. Good job, guys. That's what we want to see. He's getting closer. Wait. He's getting closer. All right, Nesty's back. Never mind.
You know, I respect the fact that he is down 0-2 and doesn't want to take a free trade in that mid lane. But you're also down 0-2.
Sure.
So, for DCG, this is backs against the wall, and to your point, to touch on to the Ornn, it does improve their front to back, right? Because they have the extra peel potential coming in when it comes to these team fights. The Gragas brings a lot more when it comes to just keeping upright in the lane phase, having so much disengaged potential to make sure you don't get 1v1 killed. But the Ornn is going to provide maybe that extra stability to allow Cascada to thrive in these fights. And the big thing here is this level 1, after how poorly it went for Cascada Woody in the previous game, it shouldn't repeat itself. And maybe that's the one step that they were like, you know what? If we didn't scuff up that 2-minute fight and lose 40% of our HP, the entire lane phase changes.
I mean, it's moves like this, right? As Cascada steps forward, not going to be too much of a punish as Wako and Kino are getting pushed in yet again, but this time not moving away from Woody as he continues zoning out. And you're right, it was, you know, the level 1, it was also the laning phase in both games that Cascada struggled in quite a lot. Got ahead in the early skirmishing and team fighting last game, but that Zeri was outpaced and rather just out-team fought by Wako in the end. As for BYG, we can kind of look at the early lanes here. Lakai getting bullied in a little bit by Leaky, who has some really good bases. We expect that to change throughout as Minji's doing okay against Nesty for the time being, who both have Ignite, by the way, so that mid lane should be a little fun, especially by ult top.
And Leakai has really just shown a ton of diversity in his pool recently after essentially looking like an R1 trick throughout the entire split, right? As we might see a setup coming in from Hana. Doesn't okay, will spot it out eventually, and that will deter any action in this mid lane. But for BYG, this is perhaps a draft that is more catered towards the solo lanes this time around, right? You have the Sylas, you have the Akali. Maybe Husha turns his attention towards these lanes a little bit more than before, or it's mostly about, hey, saying, you know, I know DCG, they're just going to keep trying to batter this bot lane again and again because they haven't changed their drafts. Why are they going to change their approach to the game?
I feel like for DCG, you know, we see similarities in this game with Beyond, though. We've got very ult-reliant comps, but I think for BYG, you know, Lakai, Minji, when they get level 6, it's going to be about if Minji can move his way out of lane, join some of these skirmishes in River, whether it's Dragon or Herald, but can he get out of lane? That's going to be the biggest thing. Bolt Breaker there. Shuriken Flip, no, he goes into the miss, but he's been hit down pretty heavily as he runs on out. The Shuriken Flip finally there, but Nesty and Hana have priority while Hooch is going to get invaded on simply because of the health difference.
And that is one way for the side of DCG to perhaps limit BYG in this early game, is just get waves shoving and then invade and just keep track of Husha. Make sure he doesn't get to go past the river, because for the most part, when it comes to invading, Husha's been the one to call out these invades. He's been the one in DCG's jungle nonstop, and Hana hasn't really had much of a say. His best plays were attacking BYG over aggressing into his half of the map.
Always the counterpunch in the bottom lane that we talked about. Husha was trying to get down bot behind Chris Carter and Woody, but what I love is that he's been so patient. Chris Carter and Woody think, oh, he's moving away. He's bought himself some time. Chris Carter and Woody, oh, this is
the wave's
going to be janky. It's really not. So, Waka, he spotted out. He just went over the wall. Husha spotted out a second time, actually, as Chris Carter and Woody saw him in the lane before. But, you know, much better lane this time from the two of them. Feels like they're a lot more aware when in the first two games, awareness was definitely an issue.
Yeah, and you can see the clear difference because of that, right? You're starting back-to-back call, but this time you are up double-digit CS in this bottom lane because now you're able to leverage the fact that you're running double range into a Leona. And I guess they really think that, hey, that first trade doomed the rest of the game. Now we don't essentially give away that level 1. Now we actually can leverage our compositional difference in this bot side.
Actually having a lane Husha here, though. There's the counter gank. Kino flashes on in, but not getting the Zenith blade. Hana has himself the Vault Breaker, and Minji's coming in, though. Minji with level 6. Look at the angling here of Nesty. As Beyond Gaming moved to a choke. He has his flash, he has his ulti, and Kino over the wall. Shock Blazer, Fate sealed, and Nesty gets first blood.
Very, very clean execution coming in from the side of DCG, and this is the real consequence. They get their first dragon on the table, and it's before 7 minutes. What a massive change in the impact of the early game coming in from DCG this time around. And I mean, this is such a cleaner start, and now Cascada emboldened because he has numbers advantage.
Who knew that, you know, going well in the first 8 minutes of lane would make such a difference and give DCG so much momentum. I mean, first blood going over to that Yone. Nesty is accelerated this time. And you even look at the top lane, the lane that, you know, Lakai decided to take that Sylas into. Leaky's still up 10 CS. And so across the board, DCG almost up 2,000 gold at 7 minutes simply from all 3 lanes that have a decent CS margin.
Yeah, and it again shows you how good of a top laner Leaky is. On this Ornn pick, of course, Ornn probably a little bit better than the Silas in early trades, especially when you have Grasp giving you extra sustain and damage versus the First Strike, which is very conditional. But the big thing for Lee Kai is he will scale pretty well. He will be the more damage-oriented Ornn in these team fights when he does steal away the Ornn Horn, or if he goes ahead and steals away the Fate Sealed. Definitely a lot of damage potential coming out from him later on in the game. But right now,
Herald.
DCG a little late.
Gonna look for a steal. I mean, Husha gets the 200 gold. Vault Breaker coming in. Call the Fort God call, but Lakai has stolen one. They're onto Kino, but it's a two-man knockup. Hana ulting Lakai though. He's gone way too deep. At least there's a trade, but Nesty almost dying on the way out.
Wako!
Now Leaky's in the middle of it. Everything. Wako not that strong, but maybe he can get some good ricochets here as Lakai absconded. Duck doesn't connect. That's a good chain lag, but oh! Wako again. I said he didn't have enough damage, but he just hits everything.
Cyrex, you guys don't look at Boomerang.
Apparently.
And he nails that one in the end, secures the second kill off the back of it. BYG maintain their Rift Herald dominance. I believe securing all 5 so far. And while Wako is a little bit behind on the CS department, that kill will help get him back into the game. As BCG, they go for the fight. And both of these AD carries were quite far, so this is just essentially a 4v4, but then they overextend themselves and get flanked upon because of that overextension, and that's where things go a little bit sour. Minji, of course, on this Akali, very, very comfort champion for him, and yeah. There we go.
Plain stuff. Man, first kill over to Wako, and I don't know, DCG, it's been around some of these neutrals. What we've seen this series is they've been scattered. Their team fight calling hasn't been as clean. And Hana ulting the Silas there hurt him so much. Follows the card to the back line. And then from there, BYG able to pick apart the pieces. That 2k gold lead now only about 500. And for beyond off the back of that play, you look at the kill spread. That means Husha will be able to get first item shortly. Minji is pretty close with Hextech Alternator, and Wako has himself Noon Quiver too, so we've got Dragon coming up in a minute 30, and there is now more of a chance that BYG will be able to match Deep Cross Gaming in the item advantage, or at least item continuancy, if that is a word. Consistency? Yeah, let's go with that they shouldn't have had in this game.
Husha looking to go for the Blade of Rune King build.
It's an all-in. It is a Yone, so it doesn't matter too much. He's going to pop on back, getting damage onto Minji while the rest of DCG are getting set up in bottom side river.
1 minute until Dragon. That's the reason why Nesty goes for that trade, gets priority, and now also gets a health advantage. That allows Hana and Woody to take first dibs into this river area. If they're able to sweep out some of this ward coverage, it does become a lot harder for BYG to make their way back into this area. They've got a whole lot of melees and not necessarily a ton of durability at the moment.
But I would be worried here because Leaky doesn't have teleport. If Lakai decides to join in, if Lakai comes down, Beyond Gaming will have numbers advantage, so 30 seconds to find out what Leaky does. Because the laning phase might be going his way, but Lakai should have an ulti to steal shortly, or at least find one on his entrance in.
And that's why Leaky's playing super far forward, because he knows he doesn't have teleport, but Leaky does, which means he has to have eyes on Leaky at all times. And now he leaves the lane knowing that, hey, I want to be here for this team fight, and while Leaky has the teleport, I've got first dibs. I'm going to also be able to just walk here first, so I like the response coming in from DCG. And Kino, he really wants this fight.
Because look at the rest of the map, they're all coming in. Zenith Blade starts it off, Kino's in the middle, Solar Flare, the value huge. A good response as Kino goes golden, but look at BYG as they tackle on in and call the Fort God in return. Their angles are beautiful, and DCG walked into a trap, using everything for the support now. It's Clean Up City. No one expected Beyond Gaming to be this competitive, to be this big, but against Deep Cross Gaming, our second seed, they are taking over yet again. Dragon might go to Deep Cross, but the gold is going to sink into Beyond Gaming's wallet after that one.
And DCG are falling apart at the seams, Hysterics. BYG just have their number in these 3 games. That last fight, it was just a complete disaster how they set it up. They start out the dragon and they allow themselves to get engaged upon. And then because of that, they get flanked from multiple angles. And Cascada, once more, this was a composition that was supposed to be able to team fight front to back much better. It hasn't paid off whatsoever because they allow themselves to, they give up flanking.
I mean, once Nesty as well, you know, he goes in, and then they're so scattered after that. Like, you look back at that fight and the way they are, after that Soul Unbound comes back, like, all right, now we've used Call the Forge God on a support who had stopwatch. Kino making a massive difference in that fight. 100% kill participation, by the way. Kino has been so good in this series. I feel like we've complimented the bottom lane. We've especially complimented Wako. But without Wako, you know, or rather without Kino, I don't think Wako would be as prominent as he is. So yet again, Kino in the spotlight. Yet again, BYG in the spotlight. Now with a small gold lead. They're facing off against those 2 Dragons, Nightstar, but you have to look at the items that are starting to come through. Blade of the Ruined King before that last fight. Everfrost for Lakai. You look at the Kraken Slayer here for the 80 carry.
Oh,
and you look at the 2v2 on the top side. Vault Breaker, no. He doesn't want to deal with the Blade of the Ruined King Viego. And I can understand why, as BYG are heading up for this Herald Nightstar. They want to keep their rate going strong.
This time, Nesty isn't going for the Blade of Ruined King himself. He actually has a shield bow. So looking for more of a damage-oriented build, knowing that Leaky is going full tank. This is an important fight.
Leaky has ult available. Eyes getting hit. They want the steal. They flash onto the Akali. Fate sealed is good as well. Everything on Minji, but he's still there. You're right. As they jump back to the Soul Unbound, Nesty now in a bad spot. Beyond Gaming jumping into a choke, but look at Husha. Reset. No, denied this time, but Wako cleaning it up. Now for Chris Carter running back against the 80 carry. Against the Zeri Polymorph. Makes it close, but Wako again. Chris Carter has gotten the Zeri, but Beyond Gaming just don't care as with an Everfrost bound Woody try to carry the rest. Running after Wako. He doesn't have flash available. Boomerang at max range. Wako's going to get out, but Herald secured, and BYG might even up the fight a little bit after how close it came.
Oh my lord, Hysterics. That fight was on the knife's edge there with how good it looked actually for the side of DCG. While it did start off a little bit rough, because there was no attention applied onto Cascada, he actually got so much damage done. We get to see the replay. They try and collapse onto Minjing, knowing that the flank coming in from the Akali was the problem in the last fight. They ended up overextending themselves into that choke point. But on the flip side, because of how much attention was drawn into that choke point, it did open things up for Cascada to lay down a ton of damage. And you can see those health bars getting so low. It was nearly the Zeri moment we were hoping for. And Woody coming up in the end with a little bit of extra gold for himself at the last part.
Beautiful sidestep as well from the abscond abduct from Lakai, but you know, coming back to it, I mean, DCG still getting themselves a fight. Nesty got a lot of gold from that trade as well, so it doesn't feel like it's all doom and gloom.
Yep.
But for Beyond Gaming, they have a 4-0-4 Sivir, and last game Wako was able to deliver with this pick, as he's now set up even earlier than game number 2. And we've got a Dragon to talk about here, Nightstar, because for DCG, they want to keep this one flowing, otherwise BYG can look to try and stall out that game yet again.
The big thing here coming into this fight is the fact that Nesty, because he's building more damage, he will have the opportunity to one-tap one of these carries this time around instead of mostly being the setup man. Now with this Rift Herald, they will get priority, and that means they own the choke control here on the map. It will be very difficult for DCG to contest their 3rd dragon, but because they got the first 2, this alleviates some of the pressure.
Minji was spotted out. He got the Scryer's Bloom. A little bit unfortunate as Nesty tries to pop over the wall. They want the pick on the Akali, but look, they're separated. They're all separated. Call the Forge God doesn't work out, though. Beyond Gaming moved back to the Dragon as Leaky's ulti now comes through. It's onto Wako, but he spell shields a good bit of damage out to the tank as Nesty still zones out. They're so threatened by Minji's Akali here. As Beyond Gaming now have the whole of DCG in front of them. Minji now has a bit of space as Solar Flare comes on through, but the Vault Breaker in, the steal, no. It goes to Beyond Gaming, but now for DCG, they have to get out because Minji's angle. He kites on back, the ulti from Hana again. This buy not working out as unleashes Wako, and DCG losing their jungler, losing the Dragon, and losing a semblance of hope yet again.
Oh, it all goes wrong for the side of DCG. Hana goes in, doesn't find the smite. Smite's too early, loses his nerve against Husha, and Husha once again delivering in this series. 3 games now where he has just made Hana look absolutely pedestrian. See the replay here. He goes in, smites too early, and then, I mean, Minji just breaks his ankle, right? Goes in, rocket belt, and then flips, pulls Hana away from his team, and DCG just say, yep, you can have him.
I mean, for Hana, he's like, I'm probably going to die anyway. I guess he just altered, but, you know, Hana and the rest of DCG, right, they have been willing to first pick this Vi every single game. And as we were saying, the Vi really hasn't done much for the draft. What we've seen from DCG is the fact that they need more solid engage, you know, more frontline maybe, right? Like, because we're looking at this team playing Yone, playing Zeri, this time committing to full damage mid too, as you were pointing out earlier. And it just feels like that DCG, when we talked about their drafts being some of the best all split, are kind of dropping short of the hurdle with their debut here in playoffs in the PCS against a team that already deconstructed J-Team and now might be on the border of doing the same to DCG if they can push past this stagnation of gold league.
For DCG, they're getting pretty feisty up in this top half of the map. Pretty deep in the jungle. Trying to carve off a little bit of safety for Nesty to crash that wave up in the top side, but on the flip side, DCG they're playing 2 lanes. BYG are playing 3. So they are getting more gold into their pockets and EXP, more importantly. So DCG, they're kind of playing on a timer.
Okay, wait for the ward. Hana not going to get caught out here. And, you know, further to your point, Nightstar, they can do that because Wako has insane wave clear. It's a 2-item Sivir here. And even against this Ornn, you look at the ricochets. It's just good damage. And the wave immediately gone. BYG have 1 pushing in. 5 members hovering around for DCG. Bot is pushing in. Top is now being hit by Minji. And Beyond Gaming get more vision control because of it as Hana. Ulting again! So damn deep. Solar Flare gets him, but at least Nesty's with him this time as Husha buys time, but Minji on the flank. Hana, what was that as Minji jumps on in? Mr. Akali wants to go to semi-finals for the first time. BYG with this new roster are looking to take down the 2nd seed and make a statement here in this quarters.
All right. I know we didn't put score prediction, but surely no one said 3-0 for the side of BYG.
True. Look, you know, I'm not going to speak on behalf of Hana, right? You know, I've been in the team with him for a year. But Clement Chu I've worked with for a hell of a long time. And I know Clement, he didn't pick 3-0. He would have said 3-1 or 3-2. So unless he messages me right now, I'm not clearing his name because there's no one that could have seen this level of dominance coming as, dude, Hana is just pressing the R button like he's a kid in a candy store.
Man. I just have to remind everyone, those of you watching at home, those of you that didn't watch the pick and ban phase. 3 games of Vi from the side of DCG on blue side. They picked it. First pick. Back to back to back. When they went ahead, banned away something like Wukong, which Wukong in this game again, with the style that
perfect.
DCG are playing, they're just playing a lot more for these team fights. The Wukong would have been brilliant in these instances. And they continue to fall back for this Vibe pick. And once more, the Vibe pick has not panned out.
And look, we've got Baron now for BYG. Look at the gold lead that's come out of nowhere. Nestie's going to be able to get some objective bounty top, but mid is dead. They're going to pressure up bottom in a turret as well. Nestie's not sticking around for top lane turret, and this second dragon for BYG is going to be taken. And Nightstar, as I was saying before, like, it is incredible to watch BYG in this run, considering that, you know, we had Maoan last year when they went to Worlds. You know, we had PK and we had Liang in the top side. They're not even playing Liang. It has been Lakai. And we look at the bottom lane where it was Doggo, you know, way back in Worlds last year too.
Yep.
Wako is now filling the shoes quite nicely, might I add. Doggo must be sitting there like, I want my old spot back because, you know, BLG ain't too red hot getting knocked out in playoffs of the first round too over in the LPL. But this roster, I mean, this roster that went to Worlds last year, there's so many different elements, but it feels Worlds ready with what we're seeing in this best of 5 against the second seed in the regular season.
BYG, they had to reconstruct the roster after last split or last year. And even coming into this split, playing Lee Kai much more than Liang. Oh,
Minji, he
might have
tries to
gotten
shuriken
baited.
flip. The soul unbound. That's unfortunate. At the very least, followed through as Nestie ease in time. Baron buff, though, I want to pull out, has only gotten close to about a 1k Baron power play. So for DCG, they haven't lost too much because of it, but it all depends on this bottom side play as they group up. As right now, it's going to be 4 members of BYG trying to push in with 10 seconds left to go.
Got a point coming in from Busha. The engage comes through, or if DCG overforce, they could get punished pretty heavily.
God. The ricochets just suck so much as
Baron buff
even
gone.
Boomerang Blade. Yep, Baron is going to be gone. You look at mid though, inner turret mid is quite low. Bottom side at half its HP. Kino is rotating. Hunter won't be caught out this time around as with that Baron down as well, no objectives actually up for about 2 minutes 42 as Nestie is going to find an ulti, a pick off here as Husha and Kino. Other one's caught this time with the Solar Flare. Instantly cleansed by Chris Carter's score, but
They're out of cooldowns.
Lakai's got a stolen ulti. Hits up partner as Chris Carter is at the front line, but what goes there
Walker's
too? He's shut down as Leaky gets a 2-man knock up. This is the return for DCG as Lakai now in the middle too. A double for Chris Carter and BYG caught with their pants down when DCG just came in firing.
Might have just caster cursed them. Hysterics. We were talking about how good BYG were looking even though they didn't get the most out of the Baron. This is a team that does take it a little bit slow when it comes to generating advantages off of a Baron push. But they managed to, at long last, catch out Wako. He falls for the first time in this game number 3. And if they can find a repeat pick onto him, that might be the key for DCG to get on the board in the series. As replay happens, Nestie engages here, burns that big cooldown, and it looked like, well, BYG can easily turn this. And so they try and go for the re-engage, but they're taking so much damage from this from Kriskata on this Dairy that by the time they finally approach Kriskata, they're all blinking health bars, and decided DCG take advantage of that and turn the fight.
You've got no goal between the teams pretty much. In comparison to what it was before, 2,000 is nothing. His objective bounty picked up like 4k just then for DCG before we went into the replay. So we talked a lot about this team, the front to back that is there as well with the Ornn now in the comp. The ornaments coming in as well with a 3-item Zeri for Chris Carter. So it does feel like this next Dragon fight could be everything with BYG not as far ahead as they once were, and especially since they're not the one with a hard tank like the Ornn. They've only got the Leona here, Nightstar, and it's going to be a hard ask of a pick-off maybe to see if they can bring the game back into what it was.
And here's the thing, for the side of DCG, they actually have the advantage in stats because you look at the Dragon stats and what they're providing. BYG only have regen. That doesn't help you in the straight up fight, whereas DCG have double combat dragons. This is a massive advantage, and because of the extra ornaments, they actually have more effective gold at this moment. So BYG, they have to be extremely careful with how they approach and take this next fight, because 28 minutes of the game, death timers are starting to stretch.
They were going towards Baron because they wanted to make sure there was no vision there. DCG with an insanely fast Baron. BYG, of course, can't force that themselves. They've got pretty slow in comparison. As Husha hovers around the side. There's a control ward in that brush. BYG are gearing up for this dragon in 10 seconds. Lakai steals away the Ornn ulti. Wako's wave clear is great as ricochets do mean something. With the instant wave clear, they now have priority yet again, but it's going to be about what Hana can do here on the Vice, setting up a Bolt Breaker. Leaky's ulti comes in, but Minji's angle is onto Chris Garner. It depends on him. Nesty's ulti misses too, and Lakai's ulti hits too. DCG moving to a choke as Minji buys time, but the tank is down. Deep Cross Gaming just when you found a leg back in. Chris Garner flashing in. No, it's too early. Your team is down. Your tank is down. Deep Cross, that's got a sting yet again, as Beyond Gaming are setting their attention to the rest. Lakai jumps in, Husha's back on in. Nightstar for a place in semifinals. Beyond Gaming with a new roster. They're going to try and end.
30 seconds still onto Nesty. That's their big team fight engage. Leaky will be up in 10, but I don't think they have enough damage. It really just comes down to clear out the minions.
Well, he tried. Hana now ulting in, but it's all for old as the Kai comes in. Beyond Gaming replaced 3 members.
They can't
but now can't end the game. A new wave coming in. The death timer for Chris Garner's up and available. So the game will go on. But just like that, DCG throw what they brought back in. And now it feels like they're going to be losing the Dragon too.
BYG, it does look like they're actually going to go ahead for the reset. And for the side of DCG, they don't actually know the full reset is coming out here. And BYG know, hey, we've got supers pushing in the mid lane. We can cash in on this additional gold, push our items even further than DCG. So even if they do come and contest for the Sex Dragon, we still have item advantage. And they'll go ahead and start this one up. For the side of DCG, it doesn't look like they're going to contest. Smart idea in this instance, because it is not the Dragon Soul for the side of BYG. And yeah, so DCG, again, the game's not over because of the heroics coming in from Hana, but it does feel like they're halfway into the grave. Not sure.
Well, especially with 4 stasis or GA items for a ward. Hana's now launched on by Kino. Wako not going to get the range, but Solar Flare's great as Husha follows up. Hana getting out as Leaky's ulti does hit the choke. As you said, the Fate Seal's good, but look at Lakai's ulti in response. And Chris Garner is frontlining again! This 80 carry who we highlighted being such a good team fighter has once again let us down. DCG, that was disappointing, but what wasn't disappointing was the upset from Beyond Gaming against the second seed. Beyond, who were Worlds representatives last year. Beyond, who replaced their roster and have come back in the BO5 strong. Now locking in semifinals, which means they're 1 step away from returning to Worlds for 2022.
Beyond Gaming, a brand new org 2 years ago, came in, went to Worlds in their first year, and now looking to do it back-to-back with a complete roster rebuild, pivoting away from the old guard of Liang in the top lane, bringing in a much younger top laner in Lee Kai. It took them a long while this split to make it work, but at long last, they found their footing. Boy, does this team look deadly.
Dude, it just astounds me though, Beyond Gaming get all the credit for this. But Chris Carter just had, I think, one of the worst series or games that we have seen. You know, throughout last game as well, on that Zeri, like, frontlining for some unknown reason. DCG, it was their skirmishing and team fighting that we talked up so much, their ability to really move around the map early game, and I think, you know, be one of the bloodier teams. But it's just so disappointing when we saw people like Nesty, who I think had a good series.
Yes.
You know, playing with people like Hana and Chris Carter, who really struggled to align with the rest of DCG. Like, there was no way DCG, after finding a comeback with a Yone, Zeri, with an Ornn frontline, with better scaling and a better front to back, should have lost that game night. So I'm just baffled that 3-0 happened and that DCG were the makers of their fate in Game 2 and Game 3 for sure.
Yeah, and Hysterics, the other thing to mention is the fact that when we look at the coaching staff of our top 6, many of us put DCG as probably the best coaching staff in our league. And the approach in this first playoff series did not highlight any of that. We didn't get to see any creativity come out. We didn't see a lot of adjustments in gameplay as well. The only adjustment we saw was in game number 3, where all of a sudden they didn't die, or they didn't get chunked out 60% in level 1. That was the only change. There wasn't clear adaptations from DCG, and it was very stubbornness that bit them in the end, because BYG, they continued to evolve, right? It was the change in top lane. It was the adjustment in applying pressure bot lane. All these things came through from BYG, and they ran away with this series. It wasn't close.
Oh, man. And I have to give credit to BYG for, you know, like their drafting strategy was so solid. They've rinsed and repeat Nightstar from game 2, game 3. You know, hell, even game 1, like we saw the response of like, okay, Kallista's open, we pick a strong bottom lane, and they played towards bottom lane each and every game. And even this time where BYG, where Wako and Kino didn't get that, you know, that they didn't capitalize on the mistake from Chris Carter. Chris Carter and Woody had better lanes. Then we got to the skirmishes, and Wako and Kino again step up, and Kino's stopwatch was insane. His engage was insane. Like, it was a 2v2 diff at the end of the day. And as you were saying in game, it probably was a jungle diff as well. Let's be real. Look at the replay here. This was earlier on, and this was exactly when... This is when DCG... I can't even remember this Nightstar. Is this when DCG actually found a window in this game?
Yeah, DCG, this was sort of a big fight victory for them, even though the side of BYG were able to snag themselves the Herald. Unfortunately, Cascada unable to cash in on all of these kills. As we get to see, it's just the bouncing, right? This was an instance where Cascada didn't get turned on at the start of the fight, and you can see how much damage he was doing on this Zeri, getting that ult proc over and over again. It's just, when you're talking about the straight up 1v1 duel, the Sivir does win out more so than the Zeri. And hey, you know what? Woody had his moment here.
Woody highlight play. Yeah, the side step was clutch. The side step was everything. So props to Woody. But, you know, this is the play that... Oh, this is the one that hurt so much.
First pick
like,
Vi 3 times.
But he did this so many different times that in this one, like, you can excuse it, right? There's so much follow-up. There's so much gap close. But Lakai always had the Ornn ulti, and DCG was scattered to the win in so many different team fights because Hana just decided to go 10 screens away every single play.
Yeah, the issue was this composition was built to be a front-to-back comp because you added the Ornn into the composition. But because of the first pick 5 priority, the only way to get value out of it is to force picks. Yeah. And Hana overextended their fight lines time and time again because of that. It just warped their fight lines so poorly. And then BYG, you know, it was pretty much a slam dunk at that point. There's not a lot of hard work that they needed to put in to capitalize on the positioning.
God, I mean, as you said, front to back, not played well, I think sums it up nicely. Like, you know, Leaky on this Ornn, I think had, you know, pretty good moments. Apart from the time when he ulted a Sivir. Like, that was, you know, ulting as an Ornn against a Sivir. If you haven't seen Spell Shield, it's probably not the target. But look, we look at how this game ended. We look at Wako again. If you were giving a series MVP Nightstar, I think any of the bottom lane would be very fair to highlight, you know, after what we've seen.
Oh, Wako, Kino, Husha had a brilliant series. Really, the only person I wouldn't give the MVP to is Lee Kai, because top lane didn't exist in this series.
Yeah, it was. Even with the Silas run against the Ornn, like, you know, laning phase wasn't great. He had really good ultis, and he had pretty good team fighting, but you're right, it's not what we know him about. It wasn't hard about the lanes.
Yeah, and that was the baffling part, right? Because DCG were supposed to play around topside, get big carries for Leaky and allow him to do his thing. But MVP of this game actually goes to Minji, who had very impactful mid-game team fights, being able to dive into the back line. And this is why he's also just known for his Akali, for these assassin picks. They lock in the early Silas, and then they break the ankles of DCG in draft by going towards the Akali later on.
I can't believe Beyond with 3 new players. Like, you know, Lakai comes in. We expected Liang for the split, and Lakai has been the mainstay. We look at bottom lane, we look at Wako filling the shoes of Doggo, and Minji coming in for Maoan. And like, Minji has been someone who we talked about specific champion pool issues, but there are so many versatile picks now that are showing up that Minji can play some of these carries. It's a perfect meta for it. We're skirmishing all the time. Like, Beyond Gaming now in the semifinals. I cannot be more hyped to see who they go up against. And more importantly, if BYG can make it to finals and lock in Worlds, I mean, Nightstar, that would be an insane return to the stage.
That would be insane. And the other worrying thing is DCG get knocked down into the lower bracket. I believe they take on Frank Esports, and Frank Esports are another team that set up flank angles constantly. So there are major issues for a team that a lot of us also predicted to make it to the world stage.
Well, a lot of us Nightstar, that was just you. I didn't say Frank Esports to get to the world stage.
No, I'm saying DCG.
Oh, okay. No, that's fair. I said DCG were going to win the split. So you're damn right. You're very right. I thought they were going to be first seed. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to throw to a break. After that, we are going to be going to an interview with BYG after their win.
I got to know, what do I feel inside? I lose control, can't keep you off my mind. I gotta know, what did you do to me? Oh, I think it's time, I need to take a chance to cross the line, so I can understand. I gotta know, what did you do to me? Cause you gave me something I never knew before, and it feels ecstatic. Give me more, when you call my name and we're all alone, when you hold me close. It's those silly little moments come and go, and they stay with me. They make me feel like I'm alive. They make me feel like I'm not too late. Did I just wait too long to play this game? Now your love is gone. I gotta know, what did you do to me? Can wait no more. I am on overload. So if you're sure, don't leave me all alone. I gotta know, what did you do to me? Oh, I never knew before, and it feels ecstatic. Give me more, give me more. When you call my name and we're all alone, when you hold me close, it's those silly little moments come and go, and they stay with me and make me feel like I'm alive. And make me feel like I'm alive.
Show me love, show me love. Taking this pure.
Hello，欢迎来到赛后采访，我是主持人丽菊。首先，非常恭喜 BYG 拿下今天本场比赛。Hey guys, I'm Ray Richu. Welcome to the post-match winner interview. Today we have none other than BYG's AD carry Wako. Can you introduce yourself, please? 那今天邀请到了 AD 位的 Wako 选手来到采访席，先跟大家打个招呼吧。
好，我是 BYG AD Wako。
So, last interview, Husha said that BYG was going to win today's revenge matchup versus DCG to make up for that spring split loss. Today, you guys finally won the revenge match. What thoughts do you have? And also, was the 3-0 within the team's expectations? 那首先，当然需要问到，就是上周队友 Husha 就是在采访中有说，今天会为春季 BYG 败给了 DCG 的时候而复仇。那今天总算复仇了，有什么感受呢？然后3-0会在预期之内的吗？
因为我们春季打他们，基本上我们其实胜率都挺高的，但是就是突然会搞个怪，然后就突然输掉了，所以今天会赢3-0的话，就其实也是有在预期内啊。然后就是反正就是都觉得会赢啊，没有觉得自己会输啊。
So he said that during the regular season, actually, whenever they played versus DCG, he felt that BYG did pretty well. He said that their condition was pretty good, and he felt that the games were pretty stable. So that was why the team coming into today, they did expect that they were going to win. He didn't really think too much about whether the score was going to be a 3-0 or not, but the team did believe that they would win today's series. So the next question that I want to ask is about game number 3 over at the tier 2 bottom turret. There was that instance where you were alone and you rushed forward into a whole bunch of people from DCG. What were you thinking at that point in time? And also, what was the reaction of your team? 那第3把就是在下2塔的时候，你突然独自一个人冲进对方人群中，请问当时是什么想法呢？然后队友的反应是什么？
那边就是我们一开始人先被抓嘛，然后突然我们上路开了个大说可以留啊，然后我就看到那个对面 AD 有点落单，在比较前面的时候，我想过去扁他，因为我们那边优势还挺大的，然后没有注意到我队友离我其实蛮远的，然后就死掉了，然后队友那时候就是说赶快跑，没差，反正只一个而已，等我们还是赢很多了，之后团战再赢回来就好了。
So he said actually at that point in time he kind of saw an opportunity for that because his top laner said that he had teleport, he could teleport down, so just try and keep the DCG members from going away, which is why he went forward because he also thought that the enemy AD carry positioning was very forward and he kind of wanted to walk forward and just smack him a bit, and he didn't realize that his teammates were actually very far away from him at that point and couldn't make it to him in time, and then so his teammates just comms to him and asked him to run away. And then he died. And then he said that, well, it's not really all that much of a difference because he still had a very big gold advantage. He just thought that, like, even dying at that point was okay. They just had to win the next team fight. So the next question I want to ask is about the ban picks today, because today DCG pretty much gave you free reign of Sivir. What are your thoughts on this? And also, can you tell us a bit about your thoughts between on priority between Zeri as well as Sivir in the current patch right now? 那今天只是 DCG 在 BP 的时候，几乎都放出了你的希威尔，然后你个人有什么想法吗？然后个人对于杰利还有跟希威尔的优先级有什么看法？
我个人认为的话，就是杰利跟希维尔，我觉得是两只就是五五开的角色，就是都优先级，我觉得是一样高的，就是看阵容吧。可是队友好像觉得希维尔比杰利强，所以他们觉得强，那我就先选。嗯。
So he thinks that actually Zeri and Sivir are about 50-50 in terms of strength on this current patch. However, because he says his teammates actually think that Sivir is stronger than Zeri on the current patch, which is why BYG will always tend to prioritize Sivir over Zeri and give that over to Wako to play. So, a lot of analysts, as well as the casters, and even in the pre-match interview we heard from BYG's coaching staff, they said that for a team, for BYG to win versus DCG, the key was always going to be trying to control Nesty in the early as well as mid game. So, what do you think was the key to BYG winning versus DCG today? 那直播赛品以及 BYG 的教练团有在赛前的采访中提到，就是说，一支战队如果要赢 DCG 的话，关键就是要在前中期控制好 Nesty 选手。然后 Wago 选手会认为，今天面对 DCG 能够获得胜负的关键点是什么呢？
我觉得我们今天能赢，就是我们团战打得比对面好吧。就是我们基本上每波能赢下来都是靠打团赢的。我们今天的就每个人团战的状态都打得还不错，所以能赢的话就是靠团战。
He said that he actually feels that for today, the fact that they were able to win the series versus DCG was because BYG simply played out the team fights better than DCG. He says that looking back on all the skirmishes that happened today, the fact that they were able to win all the team fights was just because BYG played those out better. They played mechanically better in the fights. So the next question is that next week you're going to meet either PSG or CFO. Which team would you rather face and why? Is it going to be last year's old rivals PSG? 那下礼拜就是需要对上 PSG 或者 CFO，你个人会比较想遇到哪一支队伍呢？会不会是去年的老对手 PSG 吗？
我的话，我自己的话就是打哪支队伍都一样，反正都要赢嘛，就没有特别想打哪一支啊。
So he said that for him, he doesn't especially want to play versus any team. He thinks that playing versus any team is all the same to him and it makes no difference because the important thing is you just have to win whoever you face. So my last question is that last year we saw BYG go to Worlds as the second PCS representative. This year, what is the team's goal for this summer? So 这一个问题想问的就是去年 BYG 是代表了 PCS 赛区前往世界赛，然后这夏季以及今年的目标会是什么呢？有没有想跟一直以来都在支持 BYG 的粉丝朋友们说的话吗？
目标的话，我每年的目标肯定都是拿冠军呐、啊，然后粉丝的话就是虽然有些人好像会这边唱衰我们，但是我不是很 care 啊，反正会支持的人就继续看下去的。
So he said that for him personally, actually his goal every year is and every season is to always be the champion. And for as to any sort of message that he has to the viewers out there, he says that he knows that BYG or him they get some not so good comments. They get some haters occasionally, but for him personally, he doesn't care about that type of comments, and he really just only focuses on the support from the fans, and he wants to thank them. All right, thank you, Wako, so much for the interview, and of course, good luck next week. 好的，那非常感谢 Wako 选手接受今天的赛后采访，这就是 Wako，拜拜。
Thanks very much for the interview. And of course, thank you to Wako, who, feels like they just played so much better than DCG. He was saying there before, the team fighting they thought was a lot better, and you couldn't agree more. A 3-0 from BYG Nightstar as well. I mean, not what we expected today, but with what we saw from game 1 onwards, it was just obvious that they were the better team by far.
Yeah, they were just by far and away just cleaner when it came to early objectives, and that transitioned quite a ways as well, right? It wasn't until game 3 DCG made the adjustment to prioritize an early dragon, but by that time is too little too late. Like BYG, they owned everything else.
I really think that BYG, with the way things are going, I mean, I'm looking at the top side of the bracket, right? And we haven't seen PSG yet.
Yes.
And we know that PSG in the regular season, like, I feel like in a BO5, PSG are going to be a different beast. But CFO, how they played against Frank, I feel like BYG have a really good chance to even stay in the top side bracket. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say, but I mean, with the way, like, we look at how, J-Team played against BYG, we look at Frank Esports messing up a bit, DCG as well. The bottom side of the bracket looks a little bit weaker, and BYG, as we bring that up, as we said before, they are into round 4, which is the semifinals. Upper bracket semifinals.
Top 3.
They are guaranteed. Guaranteed top 3, right? However, they want top 2 for Worlds Nightstar, as at least tomorrow we get to find out who's going to be joining them in that semifinals.
Yeah, BYG, they give themselves essentially 2 opportunities to make Worlds, and tomorrow we will find that other team that joins them. It's PSG CFO. But I think the bigger consequence is DCG getting knocked into the lower bracket. They take on Frank Esports. I think Frank Esports is a team that can really send DCG a lot of fits because of, again, that flanking play style. Frank Esports are the only ones in our league that play this play style, besides BYG, that have just started to show it. So it's a very big test, and it's a very difficult ask for DCG to climb up from lower bracket. Whereas on the flip side, like BYG, they just need one series, whether it's against PSG, CFO, or whoever comes out from the lower bracket.
I think it's going to be a hard task, but hey, look, they've already come past J-Team, who, even myself, I was guilty of thinking that Beyond Gaming would be out in round 2 in that lower bracket, considering that how they finished the split was pretty shaky. But we've seen them go into BO5s. We've seen them absolutely take over in such great drafts today as well. BYG in the semifinals, and we have to kind of wait, as you said, and see who gets through. Frank Esports, DCG. J-Team will verse the loser of tomorrow as well. But tomorrow should be a good one, Nightstar, because those are 2 of our best teams. PSG versus CFO.
Rematch.
Looking forward to that one, right? Our spring finals going head-to-head. We're going to leave it there for today. A quick 3-0. Thank you for joining me as always, Nightstar. It's been good to cast with you throughout the split, and I honestly...
What a banger that ended on. Even though DCG let you down, you know what? BYG, they surprised.
Well, my prediction of DCG winning the split might be going out the window pretty soon, so we'll have to stay tuned for that one. But PCS, continues tomorrow. Same time with PSG versus CFO. It is bye for now, but not forever. Thank you for a great PCS split, and I'll see you next time.